Chapter 461. What? There are more and more of them? Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat as he asked in shock. Heh! The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow sneered and replied disdainfully, You're stupid! Yet you refuse to admit that these dead spirits are obviously controlled by a powerful spiritual formation. The more you kill, the angrier they get. You should have sensed it from the first one you killed. It seems like I've overestimated you. F***ck off. You stupid bird, it's easy for you to say that. I can't sense any rune power fluctuations at all. Oh, I'm sorry. I almost forgot that your demonic eyes are only at the level of 3 stars. It's not your fault that you can't see through the situation here. The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow's tone was light and sarcastic. Chu Hen was furious. The other party was doing this on purpose. What do we do now? In the beginning, you only needed to defend and maintain your strongest defense. If you didn't fight back, they wouldn't attack you too fiercely. As for now, think of a way yourself. Don't ask me. You! The corner of Chu Hen's eyes twitched. A hint of coldness appeared on his determined face. Looking around, left and right, he saw the strange black shadows that were like a school of piranhas in the deep sea. The extremely cold profound Yin Qi was unexpectedly able to easily penetrate through Chu Hen's defensive layer, seep into his flesh and meridians, and reach straight into his bone marrow. He was too careless. Although Chu Hen had been careful along the way, he had still underestimated how terrifying the Mang Mountain forest was. Of course, Chu Hen was panicking. Although he was a little anxious, he wasn't afraid. Nirvana Ray then, a dazzling light burst out of his demonic purple eyes. In the next moment, 2 purple arrows flew out of Chu Hen's eyes. The peerlessly sharp arrows quickly fused together and turned into a giant arrow that was dozens of meters wide. The arrow flew out and swept up a terrifying murderous aura as it hit the dead spirits in front of it. Arg! In an instant, a large number of dead spirits in front of him were instantly destroyed by the Nirvana light. The giant purple arrow was like a swordfish shuttling through the deep sea. It was like a hot knife cutting through butter, cleaving through the waves. A passageway opened up in the group of undead spirits ahead. Chu Hen's figure flickered as he hurriedly activated the light-shaking technique, transforming into a blur as he chased after the arrow. But while the Nirvana radiance killed a large number of undead, there were even more black silhouettes that constantly appeared. Bang! The purple arrow was intercepted by the ferocious attacks of the undead after traversing a kilometer in the mist, and it shattered into scattered light patterns that were wantonly dissipating in the air. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and a circle of golden-red illusory flames bloomed. The dazzling illusory flames formed a defensive light shield around his body. Under the protection of the light shield, Chu Hen sped up and broke out of the encirclement as fast as he could. However, it was just as the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow had said. The more these undead spirits were killed, the angrier they became. The number of dead spirits killed by Chu Hen's radiance of nirvana just now had reached a rather shocking number. And the number of ferocious black shadows that were several times more than before once again appeared in front, back, left, right, and in all directions. There really is no end to them. It's all that damned bird's fault. Chu Hen cursed in his heart. Swish. Suddenly, at this moment, a pure and holy white light appeared without any warning. The powerful holy aura was like a ray of holy light that was separated from the 9 heavens Milky Way. It traversed through the sky, and wherever it went, all the undead spirits turned into bubbles and phantoms. The graceful white light split the group of undead spirits on Chu Hen's left, and then wrapped around Chu Hen's waist at an extremely fast speed. What? The sudden change caught Chu Hen off guard. Just as he was about to break free from the white light, a familiar aura of spiritual origin surged along with the light. Chu Hen's heart lit up, and the caution in his eyes instantly turned into deep surprise. Mengchong? Mengchong. Luo Mengchong. Just like her name, a woman with a pure heart and a picturesque beauty. In Chu Hen's mind, an absolutely beautiful face that could cause the downfall of nations and people immediately appeared. Immediately after, a powerful pulling force surged out from the white light beam. The light beam was like a soft satin as it directly pulled Chu Hen towards the direction it was flying from. Chu Hen did not resist at all, and instead increased his speed. In the next moment, in the gray fog in front of him, an elegant and beautiful figure turned from blurry to clear. Who else could it be but Luo Mengchang? Mengchang, it's really you. Chu Hen's face was filled with unconcealable surprise. Even he did not know why he was so happy to see Luo Mengchang. The nervousness he had just now disappeared in an instant. Looking at Chu Hen, who had arrived in front of her, Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes rippled slightly, and there was a hint of inexplicable surprise in them. However, before she could even open her mouth to speak, she saw the black mass of dead spirits chasing after Chu Hen. It was as terrifying as a tsunami that soared into the sky. "Let's go!" Luo Mengchang did not say anything else. She subconsciously grabbed Chu Hen's hand and immediately flew backward. A soft jade-like touch was transmitted through his fingertips. Chu Hen was momentarily dazed, but he quickly regained his composure and moved forward with the other party at an extremely fast speed. In the fog, the black army of dead spirits began to surround them. On the left, right, and behind, the terrifying number was like a swarm of tens of thousands of locusts. The incomparably cold, mysterious yin qi filled this space, and the circulation of Chu Hen's true yuan became faintly sluggish. At this moment, Luo Mengchang's soft jade-like hand that was holding Chu Hen gently tightened. Immediately after, a sacred white light spread from her fingertips towards Chu Hen. Buzz! In an instant, a layer of white light lingered around Chu Hen's body, and at the same time, the discomfort in his body was alleviated and subsided. "Mengchang, you?" Chu Hen was slightly surprised. Luo Mengchang smiled faintly. Her eyes were bright and her teeth were white, and a hint of playfulness flashed between her eyebrows. "That seems to be the exit." Chu Hen glanced out of the corner of his eye, and saw a white light similar to a passageway appear in his line of sight a few hundred meters ahead. "Let's go," Luo Mengchang said. Swoosh! Immediately after, the two directly increased their speed to the fastest, and headed towards the bright passageway. At this moment, the army of dead spirits became even more ferocious and furious. Thousands of black shadows gathered together, setting off a terrifying black tsunami that rushed towards Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang. The exit was close at hand, and the army of dead spirits was getting closer and closer. When the two arrived at the passageway, a dazzling white light caused their pupils to shrink to the size of a needle. Chapter 462. Buzz! Right at the instant when Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang arrived at the bright entrance of the passageway, the surging and monstrous undead army that was like a tsunami behind them whistled over with an extremely terrifying and violent might. A powerful force that was comparable to a torrent crushed down, causing the surrounding space to tremble endlessly. Rumble! A thunderous sound rang out, and an incomparably powerful shockwave surged towards the two of them. The violent attack released by the undead army of tens of thousands of undead was especially frightening and astonishing. The layer of pure and holy white light that Luo Mengchang had unleashed on Chu Hen's body was instantly smashed into smithereens. The incomparably powerful mysterious yin qi was akin to sharp icicles, directly entering his meridians and flesh through his pores. Before gushing into his bones, Chu Hen's expression changed. He hurriedly pulled Luo Mengchang in front of him, and used his own body to block the astonishing mysterious yin qi that was surging towards him from behind. Boom! Layers of majestic undead spirit waves collided against Chu Hen's back. The world seemed to tremble as a circle of gray light bloomed in the sky. The powerful impact force that was comparable to a mountain directly sent Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang flying. Rapid air currents whistled past their ears. Luo Mengchang was facing Chu Hen, her delicate body tightly pressed against his chest. Looking at the deathly pale Chu Hen, whose body had been invaded by the mysterious aura of death, Luo Mingxiang pursed her red lips, and a faint ripple appeared in her beautiful eyes. However, she did not expect that Chu Hen would actually block in front of her, and bear the terrifying attack of the undead spirits alone. The powerful inertia force propelled the two of them forward rapidly. They were as fast as meteorites that traversed the sky. But at this moment, Chu Hen's pupils suddenly shrank and a trace of panic appeared on his face. Before Luo Mengqiang could react to what was happening, Chu Hen suddenly hugged her tightly in his arms. Immediately after, he suddenly turned around and the two of them directly changed positions in the sky. Chu Hen directly switched to Luo Mengqiang's position. Immediately after, in the next second, boom! An earth-shattering explosion exploded in this part of the world. The mountains collapsed, the earth cracked, and rocks tumbled everywhere. The two of them were like meteorites falling from the sky, colliding solidly with a steep mountain. Inch by inch, the stone walls of the mountain range crumbled, and long and narrow cracks quickly spread out. Dust flew everywhere, covering the sky and covering the earth. In an instant, more than half of the steep mountain wall was forcefully flattened. The inertial impact of the undead army's attack on Chu Hen's body was actually so terrifying. Amidst the rubble, "Chu Hen, how are you? Are you all right?" The panic-stricken Luo Mengqiang lifted her head from Chu Hen's arms, her beautiful face full of anxiety and worry. Lying on the rubble, Chu Hen was covered in dust, and there were many scratches on his body. But Luo Mengqiang was almost unscathed. In that moment of imminent peril, Chu Hen saw that the two of them were about to collide with the mountain peak. Once again, he protected Luo Mengqiang behind him, and withstood the powerful impact of the inertia with his own strength. Despite withstanding such a huge force, Chu Hen's aura was not particularly weak. After all, with the support of the chaotic body bloodline boundary and the flaming sun body tempering technique, Chu Hen's physique was comparable to a spiritual weapon, and he only suffered some superficial wounds, but Luo Mengqiang did not know this. Her willowy eyebrows were tightly knitted, and her beautiful eyes were full of anxiety. "Don't scare me. I'm fine." Chu Hen smiled slightly. "Are you really fine?" "Of course, who do you think I am?" Luo Mengqiang's beautiful eyebrows relaxed slightly, and the worry on her face faded a little. And only now did she realize that she was still lying on Chu Hen's body, and the two of them were so close that the tips of their noses almost touched, and they could even clearly feel each other's breath. Luo Mengqiang's cheeks began to blush, and she quickly looked away, not daring to look at him. Just like that, Chu Hen quietly looked at the other party's beautiful face that was right in front of him. The faint body fragrance that originated from Luo Mengqiang's body and the fragrance of her beautiful hair was very fresh and very pleasant. The atmosphere was a little strange. Chu Hen's breathing involuntarily became heavier, and at the same time, an inexplicable feeling of heat spread from his lower abdomen to his whole body, and his gaze towards Luo Mengqiang faintly revealed some heat. Feeling the change in Chu Hen's body, Luo Mengqiang looked back at him, and her eyes were full of a meaning that Chu Hen could not understand. But it was clear that there was a hint of "behave yourself." The two of them stared at each other, and no one broke this quiet atmosphere. Luo Mengqiang's red lips were slightly pursed, and her rosy little mouth was as lovely as a cherry. Her beautiful eyes were like water, and they gently turned as she said, "You still not let go of me?" In the end, it was still women who were thin-skinned, and Luo Mengqiang was the first to break the silence. Chu Hen's face couldn't help but reveal a bit of embarrassment. He shifted his gaze away in embarrassment, then loosened his grip on Luo Mengqiang's slender waist. Luo Mengqiang raised her eyebrows slightly, and then sat up from Chu Hen's body. The moment her soft body left Chu Hen's arms, Chu Hen had a faint feeling of attachment. That feeling was like a seed in the soil, drilling out of the ground and giving birth to a bud. "What's wrong?" Seeing Chu Hen staring at her in a daze, Luo Mengqiang gently patted him. "It's nothing." Chu Hen smiled, and then immediately sat up from the ground. Suddenly, all kinds of intense pain spread like a tide to every inch of his body. Hiss! Chu Hen could not help but suck in a breath of cold air, and his eyebrows were tightly knitted together. After all, it was not normal to say that he was not hurt at all after suffering 2 terrifying impacts in a row. Just now, when he was lying on the ground, he did not feel much, but now that he moved, his whole body hurt. "What's wrong? Where are you hurt?" Luo Mengchang asked again, and then took out a delicate jade bottle, and then poured out a dark purple pill in the palm of her hand. "This is the jade dew pill. Take it." Luo Mengchang brought the jade dew pill to Chu Hen's mouth and personally fed it to him. Chu Hen was startled at first, then he swallowed the pellet. Approximately 10 seconds later, a cool and refreshing spring spread throughout his body, and the intense pain was quickly and effectively alleviated. "Do you feel better?" "Yes. Much better." Chu Hen smiled. Luo Mengchang gently breathed a sigh of relief, and then looked at him with a bit of reproach. "Don't mess around like this in the future." Chu Hen touched his nose and looked at her. "But I don't want you to get hurt." Luo Mengchang's heartstrings trembled, and a bit of softness flashed in her eyes, and she avoided Chu Hen's gaze. "That won't do, don't look down on me." "Yes, I still have to thank the peerless beauty, Miss Mengshang, who is admired by tens of thousands of people, for helping me out," Chu Hen joked and said. "Nonsense. But really, you provoked so many dead spirits. Don't you know that the more you kill, the more they increase?" "I didn't know at first, and when I found out, it was already too late." "Forget it if you die of stupidity. You don't even know this, and you still dare to come to the Mang Mountain Forest." Chu Hen smiled embarrassedly, and then asked curiously, "Oh yes, Mengchang, why are you here? Did you also leave the Sacred Star Empire?" "Sacred Star Empire?" Luo Mengchang looked at him in surprise, and there was a bit of disappointment in her eyes. "What's the matter?" Chu Hen asked. "Nothing." Luo Mengchang shook her head and then asked again, "So, in the 2 years that I left the Sacred Star Empire, you didn't know where I was?" Chu Hen shook his head. "All right then." The disappointment between Luo Mengchang's eyebrows disappeared, and she did not continue to argue about it. "Then," she said, "I came here with the team from the family to investigate the disappearance of Senior Shifeng Zi." "Shifeng Zi? The strongest inscription artist in the 100 Kingdoms?" Chu Hen blurted out. The name Shifeng Zi had caused a sensation for decades. Even though he had disappeared for more than 10 years, his deeds were still spread in various regions of the 100 Kingdoms. When he was in the Long clan of Flaming Rain City in the Sacred Star Empire, Chu Hen had heard from Long Zhan and other seniors about Shifeng Zi's deeds. Therefore, Chu Hen was not unfamiliar with this name. "All right." Luo Mengchang agreed softly. Then, she parted her red lips and told Chu Hen everything she knew about Shifeng Zi and Mount Mang. Chu Hen was shocked when he heard about it. He could not help but think of the Azura sect's sneak attack on the 1,000 Crane sect's Hall disciples. On the surface, it seemed like the Azura sect was here to deal with the 1,000 Crane sect. However, if one thought about it carefully, one would realize that was not the Azura sect's main objective. The reason was very simple. If the Azura sect was here to deal with the 1,000 Crane sect, then they would not have sent so few people. Would it not be better to send more people to deal with the 1,000 Crane sect's Hall disciples? In this way, it was very likely that Tu Yi and Langley had come to investigate this matter. However, that Langley could rest in peace forever. "What about you? Why did you come here?" Luo Mengchang was slightly curious. Since it wasn't because of Shifeng Zi, then why did they come here? "It's for a source of energy." "What kind of energy?" "I don't know exactly what kind of energy it is, but it can help me break through the limits of my bloodline." Chu Hen told the truth. He did not deceive her. He trusted Luo Mengchang completely. Luo Mengchang looked up at Chu Hen with a strange expression. She pondered for a moment before she said gently, "Speaking of bloodline limits, I suddenly thought of something." "Tell me." Chapter 463. Just now, I saw that your pupils were purple. Luo Mingshang's red lips parted slightly, and her beautiful eyes revealed a slight strangeness. Chu Hen was startled at first, but he suddenly remembered that he did not withdraw his demonic eyes in time. However, Chu Hen only smiled. Some gentleness surged into his eyes as he said, "If someone else were to ask me this question, I would tell them that it is a type of illusion technique that I train in. It is an illusion technique that is activated with my eyes." "Then what if I asked?" Luo Mingshang looked at him. "If you ask, then I can't tell you for the time being." "Why?" "Because it's not the day you get married yet. When you're about to get married, we'll exchange our secrets with each other." Chu Hen replied softly. Luo Mingshang raised her eyebrows slightly, and a beautiful smile appeared on her elegant and refined face. "You still remember this agreement?" This agreement was made by Luo Mingshang on a whim when she participated in the Heaven List Battle of the Six Nations in the ruins of the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom. She thought that Chu Hen would not take it to heart, but she did not expect him to remember it all the time. Chu Hen also smiled. "Of course I won't forget. The purple pupils are also my biggest secret. I'm waiting to exchange it with you." "All right. Then we'll talk about it when I'm about to get married." Luo Mingshang did not continue to argue about this issue. Chu Hen nodded. However, for some reason, when he talked about Luo Mingshang getting married, there was an indescribable feeling in Chu Hen's heart, as if there was a stone stuck in his throat, and there was an inexplicable concern. "What now?" Luo Mingshang patted him lightly. Chu Hen came back to his senses, and then shook his head. "It's nothing, let's go. Take care of your internal energy first. Although the injury is not particularly serious, don't take it lightly, or it will easily cause problems." "Okay." After the endless fog and the undead army, there was a large canyon with no end in sight. The surrounding mountains rose and fell, the peaks high and precipitous. Towering peaks pierced through the clouds, as if they were pillars that supported the heavens. This was an ancient mountain forest that was rarely visited by humans. It was shrouded in a mysterious veil. About half an hour later, Chu Hen finished recuperating and opened his eyes. His eyes shone like stars. At this moment, Luo Mengchang was standing on top of another giant peak. She was otherworldly, like a fairy who had descended from the heavens. Her beauty unmatched. Chu Hen stepped into the air and flashed to Luo Mengchang's side. "You're awake. You look much more energetic." "Yes, what are you doing here?" "Look over there." Luo Mengshang raised her lily-white hand and pointed towards the depths of the Grand Canyon. Chu Hen was slightly surprised, and his gaze followed the direction the other person was pointing at. Amidst the towering mountains and lofty peaks, there were a few strange white lights flashing between the heavens and the earth. He did not know what the white lights were. They were like shadows, like a white rainbow, like a holy radiance. The clouds and mist lingered in the sky. From afar, the strange white lights felt like white snakes shuttling through the clouds. "Do you want to take a look? Where is the energy source that you are looking for that can enhance the power of your bloodline?" Luo Mengchang asked. Chu Hen shook his head. "I don't know the specific location, but it should be nearby. Let's try our luck there." Immediately, the two of them moved and followed the Grand Canyon toward the interior. The deeper they went, the more open the terrain of the Grand Canyon became. There were many strange flowers and plants growing here, and bees and butterflies were dancing, showing a harmonious ecology. However, what Chu Hen did not understand was that in this large canyon, not even a single monstrous beast could be seen. Not to mention a large beast king-level monstrous beast. Even some ordinary spiritual beasts and great monstrous beasts were difficult to see. On the contrary, there were many elk, goats, wild rabbits, and other ordinary small beasts with low spiritual intelligence leisurely eating grass and drinking spring water. Both Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang were a little surprised. They did not expect that the central area of the Mang Mountain jungle, where the Forbidden City of Death was located, would have such a harmonious natural environment. After a while, the two of them arrived in the middle of the area surrounded by several towering peaks. They had almost reached the deepest part of the Grand Canyon. The first thing that caught their eyes was the strange stones piled up everywhere. These strange stones had edges and corners, and they were all very large. Even the smallest one was as big as a water tank, and the biggest one was as big as a house. If one were to observe it carefully, one would be able to notice that there were numerous strange stone markings on the strange stone. The markings crisscrossed like ancient talisman markings. The stones were piled up in the valley, and the giant peaks stood outside. The power of heaven and earth gathered spiritual energy from all directions. From afar, this area was a bit like a huge furnace formed by heaven and earth. However, in the center of the countless stones piled up everywhere, there was a majestic stone platform. The stone platform was about 100 feet wide and dozens of meters high. This stone platform was not old, but it was full of style. Strange runes were inscribed on the stone platform. The runes were inscribed in all directions, and there were different mysterious patterns on the north, south, east, and west. The strokes of these runes were especially bold and powerful, and they faintly revealed an extraordinary and piercingly cold aura. "There's someone on the stone platform." Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang exchanged glances when they arrived, and then they flashed down from midair. They concealed their auras and approached the stone platform stealthily. Soon after, the two of them stopped behind a slope about 500 meters away from the stone platform. The slope was covered in lush shrubbery, and it concealed their figures very well. Looking from afar, one could see that there were two teams standing on the vast stone platform. One of them was the group from the Azura sect that had attacked the Thousand Crane sect on the Sky Glory platform. The members of the Azura sect emanated a faint aura of blood, and Tu Yi, who led the group, emanated a bloodthirsty aura. His cold and gloomy gaze was so sharp that he seemed like a ferocious wolf lurking in the bushes in the dark. As for the other group, Chu Hen was not unfamiliar with them either. They were disciples of the Illusory Rain sect. The person leading the group was the ordinary-looking young man who dared to challenge Spear Master Si Zai back at the 10,000 Beast Ridge. They seemed to be from the Azura sect and the Illusory Rain sect. Luo Mengchang said softly, "That's them." Chu Hen replied with certainty. It seemed that the two of them had made a very wise choice not to rashly appear here. Whether it was the Illusory Rain sect or the Azura sect, Chu Hen did not have any advantage. There was no communication between the two groups on the stone platform. However, from the expressions of many people from the Illusory Rain sect, they were still quite fearful of the Azura sect's Tu Yi. Tu Yi crossed his arms in front of him, and the corners of his lips curled into a demonic smile. He glanced at the ordinary-looking young man from the Illusory Rain sect with some interest. "Since you're already here, why don't you show yourself?" At this moment, Tu Yi raised his head slightly and said in a frivolous voice. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang, who were hiding in the dark, were slightly startled, revealing looks of astonishment. "I'm not talking about us." Luo Mengchang shook her head gently. Chu Hen nodded. Following that, a burst of loud laughter was heard. "Ha ha ha ha, you're indeed a core disciple of the Azura sect. We can't hide from you even before we get close." Then, a dozen young men and women with extraordinary auras approached the stone platform in front of them. Tu Yi squinted at the leading man and said coolly, "I was wondering who it was. So it's the second young master of the Tsang clan of Moon City, and also the fifth absolute of the 7 absolutes, young master Tsang Yuanjia." "Fist master? Moon City?" In the rear area, Chu Hen was slightly startled. He whispered to Luo Mengchang, "Did you come with them?" Luo Mengchang replied softly, "Yes." "Then do you want to meet up with them?" "No need. I didn't want to come here. If it wasn't for my father's order, I wouldn't be here." "Fortunately you're here," Chu Hen said. Luo Mengchang smiled faintly and said nothing more. Tsang Yuanjia spread his hands and shrugged. "Senior brother Tu Yi thinks too highly of me. It's our honor to see Senior Brother Tu Ye's glory today. Haha. Heh, look at what you're saying. Are you really lying? Could it be that your Tsang clan is full of hypocrites? As soon as he said that, the faces of the people of Moon End City darkened. The young man called Yi Tai shouted sternly, Azura sect, could it be that you don't even know how to speak human language? Yi Tai, don't be rude. Song Yuanjia frowned and raised his hand to stop him. Then, he cupped his fists at Tu Yi and said, My subordinates are insensible and rude. If they have offended you, please apologize to Senior Brother Tu Yi. There's no need to apologize. Just kneel down and kowtow to me a few times and I'll let it go. Tu Yi was really not afraid of offending people. His words did not give any face to the people of Moon End City. Apart from Song Yuanjia, the rest of the people were furious. Suddenly, a tense atmosphere filled the air. Hee, don't be angry, everyone. I'm just joking. Tu Yi knew when to stop, but he did not intend to completely fall out with them. The expressions of the people of Moon End City eased slightly. Song Yuanjia looked relaxed. Haha, Senior Brother Tu Yi is really good at joking. Tu Yi crossed his arms and raised his left hand gently. Why? The young master of the Tsang clan, Young Master Yu, didn't come? As soon as they heard the words Young Master Yu, the experts of Azura sect behind Tu Yi and the people of Illusory Rain sect were moved. Song Yuanjia smiled indifferently. My brother was going to come, but something came up, so he didn't come. It's good that he didn't come. If the famous Young Master Yu came, there would be nothing for us to do here. Ha 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 ha. Tu Ye's tone was ear-piercing, and each and every word he spoke carried a sharpness to them. The faces of the people of Moon End City changed from pleasant to unpleasant. Chapter 464. In the deep valley of Mount Mang, there were huge peaks that reached the sky. Under the sky that was shrouded in spiritual mist, huge rocks of various sizes were piled up in the valley. On the majestic stone platform, the spirit patterns in the four corners outlined strange and mysterious characters of the secret scripture. Everything here seemed ordinary and unremarkable, but in reality, it was filled with an unfathomable and indistinct aura. The arrival of the team from Moon End City broke the peaceful confrontation between Shura sect and Illusory Rain sect. Fist extinction, Song Yuanjia. Among the 7 absolutes of heaven's chosen, Chu Hen had already seen palm extinction Tian Xiang, spear extinction Si Zai, blade extinction Lang Li, array extinction Yen Hanlu, and now Song Yuanjia. Among the 7 absolutes, there were only 2 geniuses, Huan extinction and sword extinction, that he had not seen before. Of course, Chu Hen, who was hiding in the dark with Luo Mengchang, was more surprised. What kind of force is Moon End City? How dare they challenge Shura sect? Chu Hen whispered to Luo Mengchang. Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes rippled, and her red lips opened slightly. Moon End City is one of the largest cities in the 100 Kingdoms province. It is prosperous, and it does not belong to any dynasty or country. The economic lifeline of Moon End City is controlled by the 8 great clans. These 8 great clans are not weak in the 100 Kingdoms province, and the Tsang clan is the leader of the 8 great clans, and also the master of Moon End City. Tsang clan? Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. That's right, the Tsang clan is a first-rate clan with a heritage of nearly 1,000 years. Although its strength is slightly weaker than Shura sect, Illusory Rain sect, and other sects, if we consider Moon End City as a whole, including the other clans, the overall strength of Moon End City can still challenge the major sects. Luo Mengchang explained to Chu Hen in a more objective manner. I see. Chu Hen nodded his head. The 100 Nations province was a vast land with abundant resources. Its territory was vast, and there were countless large and small powers and sections. Although the sects were the most powerful, there were still a few powerful clans with strong heritage, and their strength was close to the sects. Then who is the young master Yu that Tu Yi mentioned? Chu Hen asked casually. Luo Mengchang knitted her eyebrows and said lightly, the eldest young master of the Tsang clan, the #1 genius of the Moon End City. You even want to defeat Fist Extreme Tsang Yuanjia? Yes. He is much stronger than Tsang Yuanjia. When Tsang Yuanjia was 15 years old, he had already reached the void-piercing realm. At that time, he caused quite a stir in the 100 Kingdoms province. Not only did the Shaozong sect personally send someone to the Moon Dragon City to extend an olive branch to him, but Tsang Yuanjia rejected them all. He rejected the invitations of the major sects? Why? Chu Hen was slightly surprised. Everyone has their own ambitions. At that time, Song Yujie only had one reason to reject the offer, which was that the clan couldn't lose to the sect. What a good family clan, not losing to a sect. Chu Hen could not help but nod his head in admiration. He had to admit that the young Master Yu, Song Yujie, was indeed born with a lofty and domineering character. Just the feat of reaching the void-piercing realm at the age of 15 was enough to make him look down upon the countless top geniuses of the 100 Kingdoms province. Looking at Chu Hen's unintentional expression of appreciation, Luo Mengchang's eyes were inexplicably complicated. Ha 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 ha, everyone, you're early. Suddenly, a hearty laughter came from afar. The people from the Shura sect, Illusory Rain sect, and Moon End City were stunned as they looked in the direction of the voice. Meanwhile, Chu Hen, who was hiding in the dark, was also stunned. This voice is Mu Feng? Mu Feng, the first person he met in Tensei Prefecture, a joker who could not stop talking about women. Soon, along with the rapid wind-breaking momentum, more than 10 swift and fierce figures traversed the sky and landed on a few boulders below the stone platform. Buzz! A piercingly cold aura spread out in all directions. The air was filled with layers upon layers of waves. More than half of the people in this group wore the same clothes, and on their left arms, there was a pattern of a sharp sword. It's the people from the Heavenly Sword Pavilion, Luo Mengchang said softly. Heavenly Sword Pavilion? Another big sect. Chu Hen's gaze trembled slightly. His gaze directly landed on the young man at the head of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion's group. This person had a handsome face and was born with a dignified appearance. However, the lazy expression on his face made him seem like a frivolous playboy no matter how one looked at him. And this person was none other than Mu Feng. It's really that guy? Chu Hen was shocked and suspicious. He was extremely stunned. Mu Feng was actually someone from the Heavenly Sword Pavilion? Then why did he come to a small place like Sacred Star Dynasty's Tensei Prefecture? Just for women? Thinking of this, Chu Hen was immediately impressed by the other party. Isn't he the person from your Tensei Prefecture? Luo Mengchang said, a little surprised. Chu Hen nodded. Although he had always suspected that Mu Feng's background was not simple, he did not expect him to come from such a powerful sect. Hey, I was wondering who it was. So it's the famous Heavenly Sword Pavilion. Tu Yi crossed his arms, a playful smile on his face. How unlucky. I thought I would meet a few beauties. I didn't expect it to be a bunch of burly men, Mu Feng cursed in a low voice. Everyone could not help but be stunned, and they looked at Mu Feng in confusion. Song Yuanjia of Moon Tide City raised one hand and asked tentatively, Senior brother, you seem a little unfamiliar. I wonder which expert from the Heavenly Sword Pavilion are you a disciple of? The people from Illusory Rain sect and Shura sect also showed a little curiosity. Heh, you don't even know me? You're all good to me. I don't change my name or my surname. People give me the nickname, Little White Dragon in the Waves, Mu Feng. Mu Feng? The people from the three forces were stunned again. Ha 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 ha, a disdainful sneer came from the Shura sect's group. One of them, a man with sickly pale skin, came forward and laughed. I was wondering who he was. It turns out he's the useless son of the pavilion master of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. The other people in the room also revealed a bit of a sneer. Everyone knew that the pavilion master of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion, Mu Xiong Kai, had outstanding sword skills, and was a great strategist. His startling devil sword was unrivaled in the 100 Nations prefecture. However, Mu Xiongkai's son was a complete idiot. Of course, Mu Xiongkai's son was not bad. The reason he was called an idiot was because his mind was full of women. When he was in his teens, the female disciples of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion were all harassed by him. If he cultivated diligently, it would be fine. As long as he did not fall behind in his cultivation, everyone would turn a blind eye. However, he could not stop talking about women. His mind was filled with women all day long. It caused all the female disciples of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion to avoid him. Finally, once again, he, who was extremely lustful, had designs on the 7th Elder of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. Although the 7th Elder was over 30 years old, she was still beautiful. The reckless Mu Feng peeped at the 7th Elder bathing and changing clothes, and was discovered by the 7th Elder. He slapped the 7th Elder until he saw stars and lost his bearings. Then, the 7th Elder reported it to Mu Xiongkai. Mu Xiongkai was infuriated. He had lost all his face to his ancestors. The enraged Mu Xiongkai kicked and broke 3 of Mu Feng's ribs. Luckily, a few elders begged for mercy. Otherwise, Mu Feng would have been crippled. After recovering from his injuries, Mu Feng was also filled with anger. He wrote, "Mu Xiongkai is a bastard," on the statue of the sword ancestor in the Heavenly Sword Pavilion and chose to run away from home. And this matter was treated as a joke by the various sections. No one had expected that the people of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion would also come here. Even more so, they did not expect that the leader this time would be Mu Feng. Mu Xiongkai couldn't understand why his idiot son would come here to be a joke. "What? Young master idiot, when did your father let you go back? If it were me, I would not want such a son," the man from the Shura sect mocked. The rest of the people sneered as well. "Humph, people from the Shura sect, don't you have any manners?" A young man from the Heavenly Sword Pavilion scolded. Their young master was indeed an idiot. But no matter what, it was not their place to lecture him. Mu Feng being humiliated by the people from the Shura sect was also a humiliation to the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. "Sai Chu-yi, don't stand up for me." Mu Feng raised his hand slightly to stop his companions behind him. Then, he looked at the people from the Shura sect and said, "What the hell are you laughing at? Don't you have any manners? Scolding people the moment you come, your ancestors." The moment these words came out, everyone was stunned. This was especially so for the people from the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. Their eyes could not help but twitch. Accompanying Mu Feng was a huge mistake. The eyes of the person from the Shura sect who was being scolded immediately turned cold. A sinister smile appeared on his sickly pale face. "Heh, an idiot will always be an idiot. You only know how to use your tongue. Oh, you bastard, you dare to argue with me? If you have the guts, come down here and see if I don't beat you until you piss your pants." The people from the Heavenly Sword Pavilion were speechless once again. On the other hand, the people from the Shura sect were enraged. A piercingly cold, evil aura emanated from his body. However, he did not attack immediately. Instead, his gaze swept towards Tu-yi. "Heh." Tu-yi smiled playfully. His expression was one of ridicule as he said, "Since the young master of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion wants to spar with you, you should just agree. To be able to witness the exquisite swordsmanship of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion is a feast for the eyes." "Heh, I understand." With Tu-ye's words, the aura that erupted from the pale-skinned person from the Shura sect was like a ferocious beast that had just been released from its cage. His body moved and a surging murderous aura surged as he charged towards Mu Feng. "Young master, be careful." The people from the Heavenly Sword Pavilion drew their sword. "Don't worry, I will deal with this bastard myself." Chapter 465. Don't worry, this Commander Feng will deal with this bastard myself. After saying that, an incomparably powerful and sharp sword force swept out from Mu Feng's body. His right hand grabbed at the air, and the spiritual energy of the world within a dozen meters instantly gathered in his palm. Mu Feng raised his hand and raised his palm. A bright and resplendent golden-colored sword aura surged out from his palm, transforming into an incomparably solid sword shadow that directly attacked the person from the Shura sect, whose skin was sickly and pale. The sword shadow flew across the sky, releasing an invisible aura that spread in all directions. It was like flying flowers and cutting leaves, and even the surrounding rocks were faintly discernible with deep sword markings. Humph! So you do have some ability. The Azura sect member's expression changed slightly when he sensed the aura of Mu Feng's sword. A dense black light erupted from his body, and he immediately raised his hand and threw a punch. A solid fist light shot out explosively and solidly collided with the sword shadow. Bang! Once the astonishing forces collided, a berserk remnant force of true Yuan burst forth in midair. Chaotic air waves spread in all directions, sparks flew in all directions, and light markings flew in all directions. The golden silhouette of the sword that Mu Feng had unleashed actually collapsed and exploded, turning into sparkling and translucent fragments that filled the sky. A faint sneer appeared on the faces of everyone present. This was especially true for the Azura sect members, whose faces were filled with disdain. Heh! An idiot will always be an idiot. The sickly pale man sneered endlessly. However, at this moment, an illusory silver light figure suddenly flew out from the golden sword shadow that had exploded. This silver light figure was nearly transparent, like a strand of thin gauze. However, upon closer inspection, it was actually a strand of strange sword light. What? That person was suddenly shocked in his heart. Before he could even react, the strand of practically translucent sword light had suddenly sped up, and its speed was so swift that it was like a flowing light flying through the ages, and it carried a dangerous aura as it charged and slashed at the person. Boom! A ball of scattered silver light blossomed in front of that person. Under the astonished gazes of everyone present, that wisp of sword light directly penetrated the dense black light around that person's body and landed on his chest. In that instant, the clothes on the man's chest were instantly shattered by the powerful sword chi. A string of scarlet blood flew out, and a small bloody hole immediately appeared in the center of the man's chest. Hua! Looking at the scene in front of them, everyone from Moon's End City, sect of Illusory Rain, and Shura sect was astonished. That's not right. This didn't seem to match the rumors. Even the Heavenly Sword Pavilion disciples who had come with Mu Feng were surprised. Even they did not know when Mu Feng had become so powerful. It was no wonder that the Pavilion Master had sent Mu Feng to lead the team for this trip to the Mang Mountain Forest. Previously, everyone had suspected that the Pavilion Master was trying to find a way to kick Mu Feng out again, so that the Heavenly Sword Pavilion would have some peace and quiet again. Now, it seemed like that was not the case. Hiding in the dark, Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang were also a little surprised. This guy's cultivation has improved a lot, Chu Hen said softly. Luo Mingshang nodded and replied softly, back in the Sacred Star Empire, I already felt that his aura and true essence were much more stable and pure than ordinary people. But I never expected him to be the young master of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. Chu Hen couldn't help but laugh involuntarily. Thinking back to the past, Mu Feng was full of nonsense all day long. He would even boast every day and exaggerate everything. At that time, everyone only thought that he was boasting without a draft. Now that he thought about it, the majority of the unreliable things that Mu Feng said back then were not lies. Do you want to go over? Luo Mingshang's red lips parted slightly. Chu Hen shook his head. Not for now. The man from the Shura sect who had been defeated by Mu Feng's sword flashed and landed on a huge rock. He covered his bleeding wound with one hand and his eyes were red with anger, as if they were about to spit fire. You've really hidden your strength well, you idiot. Please watch your words. If I'm an idiot, then you're pig dung. Mu Feng pointed at the man and retorted. The man was furious, and his murderous intent surged. An even more violent aura than before soared into the sky. The thick black light was mixed with a strange blood-red light. He leaped up again, and the vast and shocking true essence pressure crushed down on Mu Feng. I was too careless just now. Die. Useless thing. Mu Feng's eyes turned cold, and under his cynical smile, there was a hint of coldness. Bastard, let's see who's courting death. Screech. However, at this moment, a loud and clear bird's cry resounded through the sky. The sharp and high-pitched cry of an eagle exuded a power that shook all directions. Everyone's heart was filled with shock. In the next instant, a silver ray of light pierced through the sky. It was as fast as lightning and whistled through the sky. The silhouette of a ferocious bird appeared in the silver ray of light, and its aura shook the heavens. It was like a divine eagle that traversed the sky. Boom! A strong gust of wind rushed over, and illusory waves of light appeared in the air. Along with an incomparably terrifying pressure, the eagle light shot towards the crowd at a shocking speed. Its target was none other than the sickly pale man from the Shura sect. Bang! The space violently trembled, and a mighty wave of air swept in all directions. The pale man's pupils violently shrank, and before he could react, the ray of light had already arrived in front of him. A majestic pressure like a mountain caused him to be unable to move. Immediately after, a powerful palm reached out from the ray of light and pressed against the top of the man's head. The man's aura was instantly crushed to its lowest point. He lost his balance in the air, and was firmly sucked into the palm. Rumble! An extraordinary imposing aura crushed the surroundings, and then an extraordinary and fierce figure appeared before everyone's eyes while silver light flickered. Ko Tianqian? An exclaim resounded from the group from Lunar Nightmare City. The members of the Illusory Rain sect, Shura sect, and Skylink Sword Pavilion revealed shocked expressions as well. The members of the Thousand Crane sect have actually come as well. Swish! Swish! After that, numerous rapid sounds of air being torn apart resounded. Over a dozen figures with powerful auras flashed through the sky, and they emanated powerful imposing auras as they descended firmly onto a pile of rocks behind Ko Tianqian. At the same time, everyone's gazes moved from Ko Tianqian to a handsome and graceful young man. Planet Sherwan? Ko Tianqian. Planet Sherwan. The Thousand Crane sect had actually dispatched 2 core disciples. The Thousand Crane sect's group is here as well. Luo Mengchang muttered softly from the shadows. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed slightly and he laughed coldly. It would be strange if they didn't come. What? You know them? Luo Mengchang noticed that there was something off about Chu Hen's tone. It's a long story. I'll tell you when I have the time. Chu Hen didn't explain anything, but the coldness in his eyes grew even colder. The arrival of the group from the Thousand Cranes sect instantly caused the atmosphere in the surroundings to heat up. All the sects knew that the Thousand Crane sect and Azura sect were mortal enemies, and the enmity between the two sects had been entangled since the establishment of their sections. Of course, to the group from Lunar Nightmare City, Illusory Rain sect, and Skylink Sword Pavilion. If the Azura sect and Thousand Crane sect were to enter into battle here, it might be a show worth watching. Humph. We meet again, senior brother Tu Yi. A mocking smile appeared on the corners of Ko Tianqian's mouth as he pressed his right hand against the top of the head of the young man from Azura sect. The latter struggled incessantly, but it was to no avail. It was like his life was being held down, and he couldn't struggle free from Ko Tianqian's grasp at all. The young man rebuked furiously, Let go of me. Ko Tianqian remained unmoved as he continued to stare at Tu Yi, who was standing on the stone platform. The atmosphere was tense and the atmosphere was heavy. The group from Azura sect could not help but exude a murderous aura. Tu Yi did not seem flustered at all when he faced Ko Tianqian and the 2 core geniuses of the Thousand Crane sect from Sherwin Star. Tu Yi smiled faintly. Hee. Not bad. You've caught up so quickly. Did you kill Langley? What? Langley is dead? The group from Lunar Nightmare City, Illusory Rain Sect, and Skylink Sword Pavilion could not help but feel restless. Ko Tianchen sneered. So what if I did? So what if I didn't? Langley only died a step earlier than you. Hee. 2 core disciples. Tisk, it's a little troublesome. Tu Yi stroked his chin lightly and said, The situation here is slightly complicated. Are you sure you want to fight us now? The group from Thousand Cranes sect from Sherwin Star glanced solemnly at the crowd in the surroundings. They'd followed the tracks of the Azura sect all the way here, so they didn't know that other sects had arrived, nor did they understand the situation here. Under such circumstances, rashly declaring war against the Azura sect seemed to be a little inappropriate. Ko Tianchen looked up slightly, and then he raised his right hand. The Azura sect disciple's body was lifted up horizontally, and he struggled like a grasshopper. Heh. Senior Brother Tu Yi, you're absolutely right. The situation is too complicated, and our Thousand Crane sect is slightly unable to endure it. Since that's the case, then I'll return him to you. As soon as he finished speaking, a wave of hidden energy surged out from Ko Tianchen's palm. The Azura sect disciple immediately broke free from Ko Tianchen's palm and flew swiftly towards the stone platform. The expressions of the others behind Tu Yi eased up slightly, and they laughed inwardly at the cowardice of the Thousand Crane sect disciples. However, when the disciple was pushed to the sky in front of the Azura sect's group, an extreme energy fluctuation suddenly erupted from his body. In an instant, countless rays of silver light shot out from his body. The disciple's expression changed drastically, and his eyes opened wide while boundless pain surged out from his face that was filled with terror. No. Boom! In the next second, the disciple's body exploded into pieces, and blood instantly rained down from the sky above the stone platform. Chapter 466. Rumble. Just when everyone thought that Ko Tianchen was really going to let the young man from the Shura sect go, an extreme energy explosion suddenly erupted. Countless dazzling silver beams of light burst out of the young man's body. With a shrill scream, the young man's body exploded into a rain of blood. A scarlet mist of blood instantly rained down from the sky above the stone platform. The sudden turn of events stunned everyone from Moon End City, the Heavenly Sword Pavilion, and the Illusory Rain sect. The faces of those from the Shura sect instantly darkened, and a thick layer of frost covered their faces. Song Yuanjia, Mu Feng, and the ordinary-looking man who led the group from the Illusory Rain sect were slightly surprised. Ko Tianchen really was a top genius disciple of the Thousand Crane sect. He killed decisively, and his methods were forceful. He really was swift and decisive. The other members of the Thousand Cranes sect at the back were delighted. They'd finally gotten their revenge after being ambushed by those from the Shura sect on the Heavenly Brilliance platform. Sherwinching raised his brows slightly, and a cold smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. It was obvious that he rather approved of Ko Tianchen's actions. A piercingly cold, killing intent began to fill the surroundings. Ko Tianchen stood proudly in the sky. He had an awe-inspiring and extraordinary bearing, and he fully displayed the extraordinary bearing of a core disciple of a sect. He stared coldly at Tu Yi, who stood on the stone platform in front of him. The provocation in his eyes was not concealed at all. The atmosphere froze and swords were drawn. Ko Tianchen had used such a shocking method to declare war on Tu Ye's group. Apart from shocking everyone, he'd also given the Shura sect a resounding slap in the face in front of the other 3 great forces. Heh hee hee. Tu Yi laughed, and his laughter was especially eerie and cold. The scarlet rain of blood and bits of flesh scattered around the stone platform. After that, Tu Ye's eyes suddenly turned cold, and a bloodthirsty and ruthless aura emanated from his body. Ko Tianchen, you've got guts. Humph. Ko Tianchen sneered and replied with a mocking expression, I, Ko Tianchen, have always had guts. Tu-Yi, I've waited for this day for a long time. Make your move. What? Are you going to do it alone? Tu-Yi glanced indifferently at Sherwin's star. Presently, 2 core disciples from the Thousand Cranes sect had arrived. On the Shura sect's side, Tu-Yi was the only one left after Langley was killed. Logically speaking, Tu-Yi's best option right now was to retreat. However, there was not the slightest hint of fear on his face. At the same time, Ko Tianxin's aura was awe-inspiring. I alone am enough to deal with you. A sharp aura suppressed the entire area. Strange silver runes of light were released from Ko Tianxin's body like holy light. The runes flowed all over his body and attached to his body, vaguely forming the silhouette of an eagle. Surging flames spread in all directions. It gave people the feeling that it was a ferocious bird that could come out at any time. The expressions of the surrounding people changed slightly, and they all instinctively retreated to the back. There's going to be a good show. Mu Feng snickered secretly. He was eager to see the world in chaos. Hee, let's see just how outstanding the sky-ripping eagle's bloodline is today. Tu-Yi grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, right when a fierce battle was about to break out, something unexpected happened. A strange energy fluctuation spread out from the stone platform. Everyone was shocked. When they focused their attention, they saw the mysterious runes on the surface of the platform emitting a gentle glow. What's going on? The people from the Thousand Cranes sect and the Heavenly Sword Pavilion of Moon End City were shocked. The people from the Shura sect and the Illusory Rain sect on the stone platform were even more surprised. These 2 teams were the first to arrive here. They had carefully observed the square runes on the stone platform just now, but they did not find any valuable clues. Look, the runes are sucking blood. Someone from the Illusory Rain sect exclaimed. Sucking blood? The hearts of everyone present could not help but be startled. As expected, the strange runes on the platform began to move. The blood on the ground surged toward the runes at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, it quickly merged with the runes. The blood on the ground was naturally the blood of the Shura sect disciple that Ko Tianxin had just killed. The disciple's death was so tragic that the blood rained down on the runes on the platform. No one expected Ko Tianxin's unintentional action to open the door to the secrets hidden in this place. Buzz. When the last drop of blood was absorbed by the runes, an extremely powerful aura suddenly spread out from the stone platform. The mysterious patterns lit up in an instant, bursting forth with a resplendent brilliance. The colorful runes intertwined with each other like the essence energy extracted from the rainbow after the rain. The runes were gorgeous like the ancient runes. An ancient and desolate aura surged out like a spring. Boom. Then, the sky above the valley rumbled with thunder and lightning. Rocks were piled up in the valley while huge mountains towered outside. The towering mountains around the valley emitted a majestic aura. Strong winds stirred and the sea of clouds stirred. Rays of strange white light flickered between heaven and earth. In an instant, the stone platform erupted with a dazzling colorful light like the sun. The mighty and vigorous chi wave was like a torrent that had broken through a dam, sweeping in all directions. The expressions of the Shura sect and Illusory Rain sect changed. Retreat! Retreat! Without any hesitation, more than 30 figures from both sides immediately retreated to the back. The people from Moon Execution City, Thousand Crane sect, and Heavenly Sword Pavilion were also forced back by the aura that originated from the stone platform. Fist Master Tsang Yuanjia, Heavenly Sword Pavilion's young master Mu Feng, Ko Tianxin, Planet Sherwin, Tu-Yi, and the ordinary-looking young man from the Illusory Rain sect looked at each other in shock. However, before everyone could figure out what was happening, something even more shocking happened. The huge rocks piled up in the valley released a bright brilliance. The strange patterns on the rocks flickered like lightning. Buzz, buzz. Under many pairs of surprised gazes, all the stones rose into the air, left the ground, and floated in the air. The huge rocks that filled the sky were like meteorites in the vast starry sky. They floated in the sky above the valley, and were shrouded in bright silver light patterns. What's going on? What the hell is going on? Yi Tai from Moon Execution City frowned and shouted in a deep voice. Buzz! Boom! Just as he finished speaking, a few huge rocks on one side suddenly flew across the sky and swept up a powerful aura toward the stone platform in the center. It was as if hundreds of people responded to a single call. The huge rocks in other directions seemed to be attracted by a magnetic force. One by one, they flew to the top of the stone platform and gathered together. The people from the various teams were shocked. The huge rocks that floated around the crowd roared and gathered on the stone platform. The sky was dark and the clouds were swept away by the wind. The turbulent airflow set off a piercingly cold whirlpool. The huge traction caused the area within a radius of dozens of miles to fall into chaos. The rocks had edges and corners and were of different shapes. Some were square, some were round, and some were triangular. The rocks were arranged in an orderly manner and the gaps between the edges were very tight. On Sherwin Planet, Ko Tianchen and Yi Tai looked at each other and the former blurted out subconsciously. Is it building a building on its own? Ko Tianchen narrowed his eyes and did not answer. Instead, he looked at the people from Moon Execution City, Shura Sect, Illusory Rain Sect, and Heavenly Sword Pavilion. What was the purpose of these people's visit? Rumble. The collision of the huge rocks sounded like a stampede of 10,000 horses and waves. Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang, who were hiding in the dark, looked cautious. After all the unique stones were piled together, an enormous stone tablet with a majestic aura that was like a mountain appeared in everyone's line of sight. This is? Wow! Everyone's pupils shrank and their faces were filled with deep shock. It was a stone monument that was more than 1,000 feet tall. It was narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. It was grand and majestic, like a stone pillar that reached the heavens. The stone monument stood steadily on the stone platform in the center. If everyone present had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed that the strange rocks that were piled up all over the place could form such a majestic stone monument in just a few blinks of an eye. The combination of the rocks was just right. It could be said to be perfect. There was not a single protruding edge or edge. Soon after, the stone platform below burst into a brilliant rainbow light again. Beams of light that looked like colorful vines intertwined with each other and extended up the stone monument's wall. Waves of beautiful and resplendent light enveloped the top and bottom of the stone tablet, and within the light, mysterious runes were rapidly lighting up. In the blink of an eye, the majestic stone monument's wall was covered with inscriptions. The inscriptions were strange and mysterious, and they similarly emanated an extremely obscure and restless aura. It's the talisman inscriptions. I found it. Shifeng Zi really did come here all those years ago. An excited voice resounded from the group from Moon Execution City, and it was the young woman called Little One who spoke. What? Talisman inscriptions? Shifeng Zi? The members of the Thousand Crane sect were slightly astounded. Wasn't Shifeng Zi the #1 talisman master that roamed through the 100 kingdoms all those years ago? The square talisman inscriptions he created in the past could be said to have caused a stir. Ko Tianchen and Sherwin Xing looked at each other and immediately understood the purpose of these people's visit. Chapter 467. It was earth-shattering and shook the surroundings. Looking at the 300-meter-tall stone tablet that suddenly appeared on the stone platform, the faces of the Azura sect, Illusory Rain sect, Skysplit Sword Pavilion, Thousand Crane sect, and Moon End City were filled with shock and astonishment. The 300-meter-tall stone tablet soared into the sky. A majestic aura that was as majestic as a mountain filled the heavens and earth, filling the entire space. Standing before the majestic stone tablet, everyone felt as if they were standing beneath a mountain. All of them were suppressed by the terrifying aura to the point that their blood was restless, as if they were carrying an invisible burden, the surface of the stone tablet was covered in strange and mysterious runes. The work of the gods was like the ancient words and numbers, dazzling and resplendent. These? They're all runes. Yi Tai took a step forward from the Moon and Cities group, and he couldn't help but clench his fists tightly. Song Yuanjia, Tu Yi, Ko Tianchen, Sherwen Xing, and the others couldn't help but narrow their eyes. Numerous gorgeous runes were inscribed on the stone tablet, and the most eye-catching were 4 runes. Those 4 runes were inscribed on the peak of the stone tablet. One of them was a dazzling blood-red color, and it looked like a ferocious beast that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The second rune was in the shape of a twisted stripe, and it looked like a ball of intertwined threads. It was black in color. The other rune's shape was rather peculiar, and it looked like 2 koi fish that were playing with each other. As for the 4 runes, they were a gentle gold in color, and they were like strands of flaming clouds that emitted a sacred radiance. It's the 4-direction rune. Frenzy, transformation, clone, and the heavenly spirit rune. It really is here. Boom! Whoosh! In an instant, everyone was extremely excited, and their eyes instantly revealed a dense burning intent. In the next moment, 1 or 2 figures from the Illusory Rain sect, Azura sect, and Moon End City that were relatively close to each other burst out, and they charged towards the 4-direction rune like flowing lights and phantoms. "Don't be rash!" Song Yuanjia of Moon End City shouted. However, the few of them whose minds were occupied by the sigil of the 4 directions did not hear the warning at all. Right when they arrived before the stone tablet and stretched out their hands towards the talisman markings on the stone tablet, along with a terrifying aura that was like a raging torrent, an expanse of powerful and dazzling brilliance that seemed like the sun completely erupted from the stone tablet, heaven and earth dimmed, and bursts of dazzling aurora stung everyone's eyes. The entire valley was instantly illuminated by the white light. Bang, bang, bang! What followed was a series of muffled explosions. The few figures close to the stone tablet exploded into clouds of blood mist as if they had been hit by the divine light. He didn't even have the chance to scream before he died on the spot. Everyone who witnessed this scene was astounded. This power could be said to be terrifying. The piercingly cold wind was blowing, and everyone's face was surging with a solemn expression. After all, it wasn't that easy to obtain the 4-sided curse seal. Don't act rashly. Song Yuanjia furrowed his brows and swept a cold glance at the people from the other sections. He didn't expect it to happen so suddenly. Now that it had come to this, they would have to compete with the geniuses of the Illusory Rain sect, Thousand Crane sect, Azura sect, and Sky-Piercing Sword Pavilion. The difficulty was extremely high. Under such circumstances, the best way was to strike later and gain the upper hand. They would first wait for the others to fight to the death before reaping the benefit. However, everyone had already been exposed, so Song Yuanjia's idea wasn't that brilliant. The people from the various sects all had ulterior motives. No one dared to act rashly again. Buzz, buzz. The surging divine light lingered around the stone tablet with astonishing might. It was like an unbreakable barrier that no one dared to approach. However, everyone could clearly sense that the power that originated from the stone tablet wasn't always that powerful. The energy fluctuations that erupted from it were slowly and weakly receding. Even so, no one had the intention to challenge the stone tablet's power again. "Senior Brother Tu Yi, what should we do?" Someone from the Azura sect asked in a deep voice. Tu Yi coldly glanced at Ko Tianchen and Sherwen Xing before replying with a sneer, "Humph, we'll act according to the circumstances." The momentum in front of them was monstrous as mighty waves of air filled the sky. Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang, who were in the rear, were still quietly observing the situation. "Strange, why is there a stone tablet here?" Chu Hen muttered to himself. Luo Mingshang looked up and said softly, "Shifeng Zi made it." Chu Hen smiled. "What I mean is that Shifeng Zi wouldn't make a stone tablet here for no reason. It's not a small project. The secret is most likely related to that stone platform, Luo Mengshang replied. Chu Hen slightly nodded his head, expressing his agreement. From afar, the giant stone tablet towered over the stone platform. In terms of momentum, it had already overshadowed the latter. However, if one were to look closely, it was not difficult to discover that the brilliant light pattern on the stone tablet originated from the vast stone platform below. At this moment, the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow in Chu Hen's body sent a signal. Damn brat, get ready to attack. Huh! Chu Hen was stunned. He frowned slightly and asked in a deep voice, attack what? The energy we need is in the stone platform below the stone tablet. We have to go inside. F***ck, are you kidding me? Didn't you see how strong that energy is? What good will it do you if you send me to my death? There are many benefits. If you die, I can devour your divine soul and seize your demon eye bloodline. Shut your beak. Are you going or not? Those people don't dare to make a move for now. If they make a move and the situation becomes chaotic, it will be difficult for you to find that energy in peace. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow was rather serious. Chu Hen hesitated for a moment before replying, how do I get inside? There is a crack in the boundary southeast of the stone platform. The defense there is the weakest. After you enter, just hit the wall and you will be able to enter. Hit the wall? The corner of Chu Hen's eyes twitched. Why did it seem like the damn bird was asking him to die? Are you sure you're not joking? What's the point of saying all this? The more time you waste, the fewer chances you have. Alright, I'll believe you this time. What about Mengchang? Do you still think this is a vacation? Ask her for a favor. Help? Chu Hen could not help but be stunned. What's wrong? Luo Mengchang saw that Chu Hen's expression was a little strange and could not help but ask softly. Chu Hen hesitated for a moment before saying, Mengchang, I sense that the energy I need is below the stone tablet. I need to enter the stone platform later. Luo Mengchang frowned slightly, feeling slightly surprised. But the defense there is very strong. I know what I'm doing. However, if I act now in front of so many people, I'm afraid it will attract attention. So, I want to ask you for a favor. All right. No problem. Luo Mengchang replied with a faint smile. What do you want me to help you with? Chu Hen smiled gently. There was a hint of gentleness between his brows. It's very simple. You just need to attract their attention. Immediately, Chu Hen briefly explained his plan to Luo Mengchang. She nodded, indicating that it was very easy to do. Be careful, Luo Mengchang said. I will, Chu Hen replied softly. Immediately after, Luo Mengchang's figure moved and quietly went around the back area in another direction. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed slightly as he quietly released the power of the sacred demonic pupil. Along with a faint burning sensation, Chu Hen's eyes instantly turned a demonic purple. In the depths of his pupils, 3 black dots formed a 3-legged formation, faintly emitting an extremely strong fluctuation, buzz-buzz. Immediately after, Chu Hen's gaze directly passed through the space in front of him and looked at the stone platform below the giant stone tablet. From top to bottom, the structure of the barrier was clearly and thoroughly presented in Chu Hen's line of sight. The thick layer of defense was abnormally solid. Powerful energy flowed on the surface of the stone platform, forming an impregnable defense. And, just as the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow had said, there was a faint crack on the barrier in the southwest direction. This crack was extremely obscure. If it was not for Chu Hen's demon pupil, he would not have been able to detect it at all. Chu Hen was once again secretly shocked by the extraordinariness of the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow. At the same time, he was quite convinced that there must be other secrets inside the stone platform. Everyone from the Illusory Rain sect, Thousand Crane sect, Azura sect, Heavenly Sword Pavilion, and Moon End City stood around the stone tablet with solemn and cautious expressions as they quietly observed the changes. Under such circumstances, the teams from the Thousand Crane sect and Azura sect that should have erupted into a fierce battle had temporarily suppressed their resentment. The famous four-direction curse rune. For any void-piercing realm martial cultivator, it was a good thing that they could only dream of. Sensing that the stone tablet's aura was becoming more stable, everyone's eyes were burning with passion, and their hearts were also gradually turning solemn. Beasts fight for food, there is less meat and more wolves. Following this, a chaotic battle was unavoidable. Boom! Suddenly, at this moment, a deafening bang resounded in all directions from a certain direction in the valley. The people from the various factions who were in a tense state were shocked. Everyone subconsciously shifted their gazes in that direction. A mountain range several miles away suddenly collapsed with a loud rumble. The mountain collapsed, the ground cracked, and rocks flew everywhere. A violent wind blew, and a powerful force rose like a dark cloud, rushing into the sky and surging into the nine heavens. Chapter 468. It's Menchong. As they looked at the pure and flawless beautiful figure that had appeared in the horizon, the eyes of everyone in Moonlit City lit up because of it. The mighty aura swept over, uprooting the mountains and toppling the trees. It rolled up the fallen leaves and sand in the sky. The people from the other forces were shocked. The aura of the opponent was so strong. How could the Moon End City have reinforcements? At the same time, seeing that Luo Menchong had successfully attracted everyone's attention, Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and a purple light flashed in his demonic eyes. The primal core in his body rotated rapidly, and the Alcade body technique was activated at full speed. Swoosh! Chu Hen disappeared on the spot, like a ray of light that had traveled back thousands of years. 2 flashes in a row, 3 flashes in a row, 8 flashes in a row. In the blink of an eye, Chu Hen flashed 8 times in a row, traversing hundreds of meters, and arrived at the southwest of the stone platform at lightning speed. The aura emitted by the stone tablet was especially strong. In addition, the manic energy contained in it was very complicated and modeled. Under normal circumstances, any movement in this area would not escape the senses of the top geniuses of the sects and families like Tu Yi, Ko Tianchen, and Song Yuanjia. However, because of the impact of the stone tablet's power, and the commotion caused by Luo Menchong, it had greatly limited the senses of the people present. Therefore, the trembling of the space and the chaotic airflow caused by Chu Hen's Alcade body technique were completely covered up. No one could detect it. Swoosh! Chu Hen steadily landed in front of the crack in the barrier below the stone tablet. The brightly colored light curtain was like the essence extracted from the rainbow after the rain and gathered here. It gave off a majestic aura that could not be approached. His demonic eyes flickered with a strange energy fluctuation. Without saying a word, Chu Hen stretched his arms toward the crack in the barrier at an extremely fast speed. Buzz! When Chu Hen's hands came into contact with the colorful light screen on the outside of the stone platform, an astonishing and terrifying power violently surged like an undercurrent, fiercely attacking Chu Hen. Chu Hen clenched his teeth, and the 2 powerful bloodline powers of the chaotic body and the sacred monstrous eye body were immediately released. His left hand was enveloped in a black light that resembled the flames of hell. On the other hand, his right hand flickered with a demonic purple light. Buzz! Along with a dull sound, the colorful light curtain rippled like the surface of water. Immediately afterward, the crack on the enchantment quickly extended, and a 1-meter-wide gap was instantly opened. Chu Hen did not hesitate in the slightest. With a move of his body, he directly dived into it. Soon after, what appeared in front of Chu Hen was a thick wall. Between the stone bricks there were no gaps, and not even the slightest bit of gap could be found. Crash into it. The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow's voice, which sounded like it was taking pleasure in Shao Chen's misfortune, rang out. "Humph, you better not lie to me." Chu Hen's eyes turned ruthless. He clenched his teeth, crossed his arms in front of his body, and charged towards the wall. Boom! Right at this moment, a dazzling white light pattern erupted from the stone platform. Then, the entire stone tablet shook violently. The crack that Chu Hen tore open healed at an extremely fast speed. With the stone tablet as the center, a raging wave of power swept across the entire area. The people of the major sects and forces were shocked. They quickly turned around and focused their attention on the peerless stone tablet. The runes crisscrossed and shone brilliantly. The stone tablet, which was shining brightly, stood there like a god. What happened? Why is the power of the stone tablet so unstable again? I don't know. Could it be due to time? Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. The energy waves released by the stone tablet had clearly become a lot more stable, but now it was getting angry again. At the same time, Luo Mengchang also arrived. Mengchang, you're back? Song Yuanjia smiled and stepped forward. The other people in the Moon End City team were also surprised. Luo Mengchang's return had undoubtedly improved the overall strength of the team. Naturally, they were more confident in the upcoming battle for the Four Seals. Quite a few people were stunned by Luo Mengchang's beauty. Even the young man from the Illusory Rain sect, who had been keeping a low profile the entire time, revealed a faint look of surprise. However, what was surprising was that the surprise in his eyes was different from a normal man's palpitating heart. Mengchang, where have you been for the past 2 days? Song Yuanjia continued to ask. Luo Mengchang shook her head and answered calmly, nowhere. I encountered something. What happened just now? I was attacked by a monster. Luo Mengchang replied casually. Attacked by a monster? Everyone present was slightly startled. Such a huge commotion was caused by a demonic beast's attack? And it even flattened a mountain? Most importantly, when they came here previously, they realized that there were no strong monsters in this area. What he saw were just ordinary little beasts. Tu Yi, Ko Tianchen, Sherwin Star, and the young man from the Illusory Rain sect could not help but have some doubts in their eyes. As soon as Luo Mengchang appeared, the stone tablet reacted. It was as if she was deliberately attracting everyone's attention so that she could cover for others. However, guesses were just guesses. What happened just now was too short. To be honest, it was really difficult to think of any other connection. After all, how strong was the power contained in the stone tablet? Everyone in the room had seen it clearly before. Hee, Miss Mengchang, long time no see. I didn't expect to meet you here. On the Heavenly Sword Pavilion side, Mu Feng walked over with a smile on his face. Luo Mengchang smiled slightly. Indeed, long time no see, young Master Mu Feng. The two knew each other? Everyone from the Moon End City and the Heavenly Sword Pavilion was slightly stunned. By the way, do you know the latest news about Chu Hen? Where did that bastard go? Mu Feng continued to say. Luo Mengchang shook her head gently and smiled without saying a word. She didn't mean it, but the listener knew it. The members of the Thousand Cranes sect couldn't help but be stunned. They know Chu Hen as well? The members of the Thousand Cranes sect instinctively glanced at Ko Tianchen. The latter's eyes were cold and his sharp eyes were cold. What is this place? Is it inside the stone platform? At this moment, Chu Hen had appeared in a space that seemed like a secret room in an underground palace. The dim underground palace was cold, and it emitted a formless, strange, and gloomy aura. Chu Hen's pair of demonic eyes surveyed his surroundings. All around him were sturdy stone walls. Light patterns intersected on the surface of the walls, as if they were covered with a layer of light net. He was basically sure that he had successfully entered the space inside the stone platform. In other words, he was below the 300 tall stone tablet. Damned kid, did you break your head? Let's see if your head is still on your body. The sacred wing heavenly flame bird's voice resounded in his ears. Chu Hen rolled his eyes. Shut your mouth. After that, Chu Hen strode forward. The sound of his footsteps was extremely clear and resounding amidst this quiet space. A passageway had appeared in front of Chu Hen. It was around 2 meters tall and a meter wide, and it was deep, dark, and pitch black. Even Chu Hen's demonic eyes were unable to see through what was hidden within it. Chu Hen hesitated for a moment before he intended to enter the passageway. However, a wave of shocking energy swept over in the next second. Swoosh. A gorgeous net of light suddenly appeared in front of Chu Hen, and it sealed the entrance to the passageway. There's a restriction as well. Chu Hen frowned, and then he emanated a strand of his true essence towards the restriction in front of him. However, the net of light emanated strands of gentle radiance as soon as it came into contact with the restriction. Bang! The true essence that Chu Hen emanated was instantly shattered. What a domineering restriction power! Chu Hen's expression changed slightly, and his competitive spirit was aroused. The power of the demonic eyes surged again, and a beam of purple light condensed between his right fingers. He extended his fingers and once again probed the light net. Bang! Just like before, the purple light beam between his fingers was also shattered. What? Chu Hen was a little dumbfounded. Even the power of the demonic eyes that he had always been proud of couldn't be domineering in front of this restriction. He really couldn't believe it. Immediately, Chu Hen wanted to try again, but the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow scolded him mockingly. Damn brat, no matter how many times you try, it's the same. The one who set up this restriction is an earthly pattern master. Do you think you can open it? Don't waste time. Your cultivation is ultimately not enough. No matter how strong the bloodline limit is, it's useless. Damn, why didn't you say so earlier? You didn't ask. Then what should I do now? A mere restriction of an earthly pattern master is nothing in front of me. Buzz. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful energy fluctuation burst out from Chu Hen's body. The ruthless aura of a ferocious beast filled the air. Immediately after, Chu Hen's body was enveloped by a layer of golden flames that were as faint as a veil. In the next instant, the powerful golden flames surged, and an extremely sharp illusory sparrow claw stretched out from the golden flames, and it slammed against the restriction light net. The cold and domineering claw was exceptionally fierce. When the two clashed, sparks flew everywhere and light patterns flew everywhere. The extremely restless radiance violently pulsated on the light net. Soon after, with an explosive bang, the layer of light net that was blocking in front of Chu Hen immediately exploded into pieces. A powerful wave of air spread out. This restriction power was actually so fragile in front of the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow. Chapter 469. In the deep and dark passage, a bone-chilling cold current surged out from the inside. When it hit his body, it felt as if it was bone-chilling. Chu Hen narrowed his eyes. His demonic eyes looked even more bewitching in the dark environment. Go in, the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow said lightly. Chu Hen rubbed his nose and smiled. What's the hurry? Then you can just stand here. That layer of restriction was like an indestructible diamond net to him, but it was useless in front of the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow. Chu Hen could clearly sense that the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow was much stronger than when it was in the Thousand Crane sect. In other words, the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow's strength was recovering in a way he didn't expect. If this continued, Chu Hen was truly afraid that one day, when the boundary of his bloodline was no longer able to suppress the other party, what kind of unpredictable consequences would occur. What? Are you worried that I'll swallow you? The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow teased. Humph. Do you think I'm afraid of a damned bird like you? Good that you're not afraid. You better run faster with your cultivation. When the day comes that you can't suppress me, you'll suffer. You talk too much. Chu Hen scolded and simply ignored the other party. Immediately after, with a move of his body, he shot into the tunnel in front of him. Soon, Chu Hen entered another space from the passage. His vision suddenly brightened, and an even more vast underground palace appeared in front of Chu Hen. The air was filled with a chilly chill. The underground palace was huge, and the ground was paved with hard marble. Gentle light patterns flowed on the surrounding walls. I didn't expect there to be another world beneath this stone tablet, Chu Hen murmured softly. He scanned his surroundings. The light in the palace was rather dim, but there were no obstructions with his demon eyes. There was a groove in the center of the enormous underground palace. The groove was square and about 50 meters wide. There were steps around the notch, and the height of the steps decreased as they extended downwards. When Chu Hen walked closer to take a look, he discovered that the groove was actually a strange pool. A 7 to 8 meters wide stone beam extended from Chu Hen's feet to the other side of the pool. A dark underground palace, a strange pond. The air was suffused with a wave of desolate aura that had been sealed for a long time. Anyone would be puzzled by this. What exactly was this pool used for? The pool and the stone beam in the middle were made of a kind of dark stone. It was smooth and flat, polished like a mirror. Moreover, numerous strange talisman markings and secret talismans were inscribed on the steps around the pool, and the markings flickered between bright and dark while emitting a gentle glow. They interweaved horizontally and vertically like patterns of vines, but also like ancient numbers. However, what attracted Chu Hen's attention the most was the liquid in the pool. It was a strange liquid that had a faint golden color, as if gold powder had been sprinkled on the water. A dense white mist rose from the surface of the water. What a pure energy source! Chu Hen's eyes lit up, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. So it's the shallow spiritual sweet soul liquid. No wonder it has such a pure energy aura. The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow said softly, as if it was talking to itself, but also as if it was telling Chu Hen. Shallow spiritual sweet soul liquid? What's that? Simply put, it's a kind of treasure that can only be nurtured deep in the mountains where the spiritual energy is the most abundant. This kind of spiritual liquid is nurtured by gathering the spiritual energy of all living things in the forest. Apart from that, it will also be infused with the fresh blood of dead demon beasts and animals as nutrients. The greatest effect of this spiritual liquid nurtured by the earth is to refine the mind and nourish the soul. Refine the mind and nourish the soul? Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and blurted out, in other words, this shallow spiritual sweet soul liquid's main effect is to counter the street tree Reiki energy of the inscription master? Yes. The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow did not deny it and continued, but it's also helpful to me and your demon pupil sacred physique. After listening to the sparrow's simple explanation, Chu Hen's eyes immediately lit up. At the thought of being able to use this to break through to the 4-star demon pupil, he could not help but feel a burning anticipation in his heart. However, Chu Hen was not in a hurry to collect the shallow spiritual sweet soul liquid contained in the pool. Instead, he took a step forward, directly stepped onto the stone bridge in front of him, and walked forward. The stone bridge that was 7 to 8 meters wide lay across the two sides of the large pool, like a stone bridge without railings. Chu Hen walked to the center of the stone bridge, and saw that there was actually a short stone table there. Beside the stone table was a stone seat that was about the same height as a prayer mat. If I'm not wrong, Senior Shifeng Zi most likely cultivated here. Chu Hen murmured softly. Chu Hen still had quite a bit of respect for the Earth-grade inscription master who had been famous for a period of time, and had dominated the 100 kingdoms for decades. If that's the case, could it be that Senior Shifeng Zi used the shallow spiritual sweet soul liquid to treat his injuries back then? As everyone knew, the most plausible reason for Shifeng Zi's disappearance was that he had suffered a backlash when he was setting up the rune technique. In order to avoid being targeted by some people with bad intentions, Shifeng Zi had disappeared into the wind and waves. According to a normal person's train of thought, it was very likely that Shifeng Zi had hidden away to secretly heal his injuries. Coupled with the shallow spiritual sweet soul liquid in the pool, it could almost confirm Chu Hen's thoughts. But had Shifeng Zi successfully recovered? This was a problem. If he had recovered from his injuries, then he should have returned to the outside world's view. But if he had failed, Where was Shifeng now? Was he alive or dead? Suddenly, from the corner of Chu Hen's eyes, he saw that there was an open scroll on the stone table. Because the light in the underground palace was dim, and the scroll was covered in dust, if one did not walk to the side, it would be really difficult to see this thing at a glance. With a bit of curiosity and a bit of precaution, Chu Hen extended his hand and picked up the scroll. The thick dust gave off an aura that had been sealed for a long time. Huff! Chu Hen gently blew on the scroll. Along with the flying dust, the contents of the scroll appeared in front of the pair of demon eyes. It was the rune technique. Chu Hen's eyelids lifted. On the scroll was a series of rune numbers, and Chu Hen could only recognize a small part of them. In other words, most of the runes depicted on it were earth-grade runes. Moreover, this rune secret tome was only a remnant. The description at the beginning was very vigorous and powerful, but the more he read, the more scattered it became, as if he was unable to do as he wished. More than half of the scroll was blank, and there was a string of characters below that blank area. Looking closely, it was not a rune, but a line of small words. Chapter 470. Since I can't subdue you, I shall suppress you for a lifetime. As he read the words at the back of the scroll, Chu Hen could faintly sense a piercingly cold and domineering aura from it. Was this written by Shifeng? Who could he not subdue? Who could he suppress for a lifetime? Gurgle, suddenly, at this moment, tiny bubbles suddenly appeared in the pool behind Chu Hen. At the bottom of the faintly golden liquid, there was a white figure swimming about. Immediately after, an extremely cold aura suddenly surged over. Chu Hen's heart suddenly jumped as the hairs on his body involuntarily stood on end. Boom! Without waiting for Chu Hen to turn his head around, the pool behind him suddenly exploded. Countless splashes of water splashed up. Along with an incomparably powerful sound of breaking wind, a white figure swept up a powerful air wave and gales as it ferociously swept towards Chu Hen, Sunflame's shield. Greatly alarmed, Chu Hen hurriedly released a magnificent illusory light. Golden-red illusory flames instantly formed, forming an impregnable defensive shield around his body. Bang! A heavy explosion immediately rang out, creating a rain of sparks in the air. Immediately after, Chu Hen was directly sent flying by an incomparably violent impact. Boom! With a bang, he heavily smashed into the wall at the side of the underground palace. The light patterns on the wall flickered like rays of light and a beautiful brilliance appeared. The force that originated from Chu Hen's body was instantly dissolved, and the wall behind him was still completely undamaged. Cough, cough! However, after withstanding this sudden and ferocious attack, Chu Hen only felt the blood in his body churning. All the bones in his body nearly fell apart. The Sunflame's shield also flickered like a layer of illusory bubbles. A single attack had nearly broken through the defense of the Sunflame body tempering technique. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Soon after, an incomparably cold wind swept over like an ice blade. A huge monster quietly appeared in front of him. In the instant that Chu Hen raised his head, even his demonic and charming demonic pupils trembled tightly. What entered his eyes was a huge white snake. The appearance of this giant snake was obviously much more terrifying than ordinary giant pythons. The dense and thick scales were in a three-dimensional rhombus shape, and the sharp edges formed into the shape of an erect spike. If one was lightly scratched by its body, one's skin would definitely be lacerated. Its huge body was more than 10 meters wide, and just the part of its body that was outside the pool was already 50 to 60 meters long. The white snake stood up, a pair of dark green snake eyes emitting a cold light. What was even more shocking was that there were several slightly protruding strange horns on its head. The horn looked like a crown. Terrifying. It wasn't just his appearance that was terrifying. What was even more terrifying was the terrifying aura that was emanating from his body. The temperature in the underground palace suddenly dropped to freezing point. A few words popped up in Chu Hen's mind when he saw the crown-like horn on the man's head. White-scaled serpent emperor. Serpent emperor. Not a king. This is a Motherf * king beast emperor. Chu Hen did all he could to keep himself calm, but in his heart, it was hard for him to control the raging waves that were set off. Go. I have to go. Without a doubt, with Chu Hen's current cultivation, he had no other choice but to run when he encountered a terrifying existence at the level of a beast emperor. Chu Hen definitely wouldn't do something that would send him to his death. The white-scaled serpent emperor stared coldly at Chu Hen as it spat out its red forked tongue. Even the tip of its tongue was covered with fine barbs. If one was careless and was licked by it, a layer of one's skin would instantly be torn off. However, the other party didn't attack Chu Hen immediately. It could vaguely feel that there was an aura within this weak human that even it was afraid of. The atmosphere fell into a deathly silence. Chu Hen looked in the direction of the exit. The passageway was on the other side of the pool. If he wanted to leave, he would have to pass under the eyes of the white-scaled serpent emperor. This was an almost impossible task for Wu Xiu, who was at the void-piercing realm. Brat, don't panic. What you need to do now is to kill this loach. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird's mocking laughter rang out. From the other party's tone, it was obvious that it already knew that there was a terrifying beast emperor hidden here. Chu Hen immediately felt that he had been tricked by this damn bird. It was fine if it didn't warn him earlier, but now it was making such sarcastic remarks. It really made Chu Hen angry. Do you really think it's a loach, you damn bird? I don't want to joke around with you here with my life. You don't want the sky spirit's sweet soul fluid anymore. Your life is more important. What's there to be afraid of? The inscription stone tablet outside and the talisman inscription technique here are all seals that suppress it. Its strength has been suppressed by at least 90%. Otherwise, do you think you would still have the ability to crawl up from the ground after that strike from before? His words woke him up and he suddenly understood. Chu Hen immediately understood the meaning of the line of words he had just seen on the scroll. Since I can't subdue you, I'll suppress you for now. In that case, back then, Shifeng Zi had intended to subdue this white-scaled serpent emperor, but for some reason, he didn't succeed. Therefore, he suppressed it here. The white-scaled serpent emperor was ferocious by nature, and its strength was even more terrifying. The stone platform outside and the stone tablet covered in seal power were used to seal and suppress this fierce beast. However, the people from the major sects outside were waiting for the power of the seal to weaken so that they could seize the seal in the four directions. They didn't know that once the seal was destroyed, the serpent emperor would rush out. At that time, it would be suicidal. In just a short moment, many thoughts had already appeared in Chu Hen's mind. His eyes turned cold, but before he could act, the white-scaled serpent emperor actually rushed towards Chu Hen. It opened its huge mouth and revealed its ferocious fangs, biting towards him. Damn it! Chu Hen was shocked, and he quickly used the arcade movement technique to dodge to the side. Boom! The white-scaled serpent emperor's head smashed into the wall of the underground palace like a huge hammer. The force flew everywhere and light patterns burst out. The patterns on the wall rippled like the surface of water, absorbing all of the force of the impact. What a powerful defensive seal! Chu Hen was secretly shocked. That Shifeng Zi was indeed worthy of being the #1 rune artist in the 100 Kingdoms. The rune technique that he set up here was really powerful. After dodging the white-scaled serpent emperor's attack, Chu Hen flew down and left a series of afterimages in the air. Then, he took out a glass container the size of a water bottle and rushed towards the pool. Chu Hen's intention was very simple. He would leave after collecting a bottle of shallow spirit sweet soul fluid. What kind of ability does what kind of thing? Although more than 90% of the white-scaled serpent emperor's power was suppressed by the seal, Chu Hen didn't dare to underestimate it due to the fear and respect of a beast emperor. Of course, what Chu Hen was most worried about at this moment was that the people outside did not know that there was such a terrifying monster hidden here. If they destroyed the stone tablet because they fought for the power of the Four Directions seal, then the consequences would be terrible. However, the white-scaled serpent emperor's intelligence was not inferior to that of a human. Through its perception of the power of the seal, it could basically confirm that something was definitely happening outside. Although it didn't know what exactly was happening outside, if this continued, even if the seal was not destroyed, the power that was suppressing it would definitely weaken. When that happened, it would be able to break free from the cage and break free. Therefore, the white-scaled serpent emperor would definitely not let Chu Hen leave and tell the people outside that it was sealed here. Buzz. In the blink of an eye, just as Chu Hen threw the glass bottle into the pool, a strong and thick serpent tail swept towards him. Bang! The glass bottle instantly shattered into pieces. The terrifying impact caused the space to tremble, and Chu Hen was once again sent flying. Cough! Blood surged up and his organs trembled. This time, Chu Hen coughed out a mouthful of blood. Stupid bird, didn't you say that more than 90% of its power was suppressed? Chu Hen scolded in a low voice. That's right. It was indeed suppressed by more than 90%. Then why is it still so fierce? It's a beast emperor. Even with 90% of its power suppressed, it still has the power of a level 5 or 6 beast king. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird replied lazily. The power of a level 5 or 6 beast king. Chu Hen was so angry that he almost vomited blood. This stupid bird was clearly trying to trick him. SSS. After hitting its opponent twice in a row, the white-scaled serpent emperor had more or less a grasp of Chu Hen's abilities. The only thing that it was confused about was how Chu Hen was able to make it here with his strength. But this was not important. The white-scaled serpent emperor revealed its ferocious nature, its hideous face revealing its savage nature. The crown-shaped antennae on its head exploded with a violent energy wave. Streaks of white cyclones of light gathered together, releasing a thick aura of destruction. Buzz! The white-scaled serpent emperor lowered its head, and in an instant, a seemingly solid white beam of light shot out, tearing through the air towards Chu Hen. Stupid brat, this is its pure primordial radiance. If you take it head-on, you'll definitely die. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird reminded. It seemed like a nervous and cautious sentence, but when it came out of its mouth, it sounded as if it had ill intentions. You'd better shut up, I'm annoyed by your voice. Chu Hen dodged continuously. As he dodged the white beam of light, a strong evil light burst out from his purple pupils. His body moved, and when he found the right time, Chu Hen dashed out horizontally, instantly arriving in front of the white-scaled serpent emperor. Whoosh! Chapter 471. The Demon Punisher Spear, which was engulfed in a dark red light and wrapped in a demonic purple light, carried an unstoppable destructive force and attacked the center of the white-scaled serpent emperor's head. Bang! A series of sparks splashed in the air, and a circle of scattered true essence swept out. Chu Hen felt as if his spear had stabbed into an iron plate, and did not cause any damage to the opponent at all. This? Chu Hen frowned. This shouldn't be the case. The power of the spear just now should have been able to break through the defense of a level 5 or 6 beast king. Could it be that the power of the seal only suppressed 90% of the white-scaled serpent emperor's attack, and did not weaken its defense? If that was the case, then it would not just be a little bit of trouble. In the next second, the diamond-shaped scales on the white-scaled serpent emperor's body flashed with a strange green light, and its vertical snake eyes also appeared with a green light. A powerful hidden force that was like a torrent surged back along the body of the demon slayer spear. Pung! Chu Hen's arms trembled violently, and an extreme numbness spread to his shoulders. He was almost sent flying again along with the spear. Kiki, the white-scaled serpent emperor's eyes were full of contempt and mockery, and the aura of a beast king emitted from its body made Chu Hen feel as if there was an invisible weight pressing down on his body. This was a kind of innate and domineering aura of a high-level demonic beast. In front of the white-scaled serpent emperor, Chu Hen's aura was continuously suppressed, and it was suppressed to the lowest point. The strong wind danced and the space trembled. The cold current wreaked havoc in the entire underground palace, and the white-scaled serpent emperor pounced towards Chu Hen again. The fine scales on its body stood up like thorns, and it was filled with a murderous aura, and its aura surged. Chu Hen's expression changed slightly. In a hurry, he hurriedly placed the demon Punisher's spear in front of him, and forcefully blocked the opponent's attack. Pung! True essence splashed out like meteors. Chu Hen quickly retreated, and both of his feet landed on the wall behind him. As he unloaded the powerful inertia of his body, he first bent his knees, and then fiercely exerted force through his heels. With a swoosh, Chu Hen bounced back towards the white-scaled serpent emperor like a cannonball. While he was moving, Chu Hen instantly put away the demon Punisher's spear, and the limitless Fang reappeared in his hand. Buzz buzz. Previously, the limitless Fang was a black saber, but after Tuoba Shah used the sacrificial refining technique to upgrade it, the blade had a dark red luster, and within that red light, there were also strands of gray light. White Loach, take this! Chu Hen let out a loud shout, and the limitless Fang immediately burst out with an incomparably surging dark red radiance. Bursts of thunderous sounds stacked up, mixed with the chaotic roars of demon beasts. As the baleful aura poured down, Chu Hen raised his blade above his head, as if he was holding a flaming blade with vigorous flames. Boom! The speed was extremely fast, and the attack was extremely strong. Chu Hen's attack landed solidly on the left side of the white-scaled serpent emperor's neck. The explosion of dark red splendor was like a huge tide of water splashing out. The majestic and mighty energy wave wantonly spread out, causing the entire underground palace to shake. The defensive restrictions in all directions were activated, and the light patterns and numbers that were all over the stone walls flickered with a beautiful luster. The waves of the pool below soared tens of meters into the sky, and even the mysterious runes on the surrounding steps were quickly activated and lit up. In an instant, the dense mist in the pool rose like a mist, and the golden waves sparkled under the clear light. The dim underground palace instantly became magnificent, as if it was a celestial palace of a god. However, what made Chu Hen even more surprised was that this extremely destructive strike still didn't leave a single wound on the white-scaled serpent emperor's body. There was only a shallow mark on the scales that were floating with a green light. Kiki, the white-scaled serpent emperor, let out a mocking hiss. It was laughing at this human stupidity and ignorance. In the next second, a strange green light exploded from the white-scaled serpent emperor's body, and an even more terrifying counterforce than before surged towards Chu Hen. Bang! The surging hidden force surged towards him, and this time, Chu Hen almost bounced off the blade in his hand. What was going on? Chu Hen was pushed back a little awkwardly. Just now, when he attacked with the demon Punisher spear, he wasn't able to pierce through the opponent's defense. It was most likely because the level of the spiritual weapon wasn't high enough, and the destructive power it contained couldn't break through the opponent's scales. That was why Chu Hen switched out the limitless Fang. Now, the limitless Fang's level was already comparable to the top 5 treasures on the spiritual weapon ranking. Logically speaking, with a treasure of this level and his own strength, he shouldn't be unable to break through even one of the opponent's scales. Xiao! Before Chu Hen had time to think, a beam of red light suddenly flew towards him. Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly. This red light was actually the white-scaled serpent emperor's red tongue. 1. The red tongue released a demonic glow, and the dense barbs on its surface flickered with a cold, killing intent. Chu Hen didn't dare to be careless. With a flip of his body, he dodged the opponent's attack in midair. The sharp red tongue swept past Chu Hen's left shoulder. Even though it didn't directly touch his arm, the aura that covered the snake's tongue still split the air and cut open the flesh on Chu Hen's shoulder. In the next moment, a sharp numbing sensation spread through his body. Hiss! Chu Hen's eyebrows furrowed. He didn't doubt that if that attack had landed on his body, it would have pierced through his chest. Fortunately, Chu Hen had a lot of actual combat experience. He didn't care about the small injuries on his body, and he once again used the speed of the light shaking movement technique to attack the white-scaled serpent emperor. Bang! Boom! Slash after slash, the limitless fang slashed at the opponent's body, causing a shower of sparks to fly. But every time, it was to no avail. He wasn't able to break through the opponent's defenses. No, every time Chu Hen launched an attack, he would be met with a fierce backlash. After a series of fierce battles, Chu Hen was unbearably tired. "Hey, stupid brat, is it fun? If you continue like this, you won't live for more than 10 minutes, the saintly winged heavenly flame sparrow said with a smile. Chu Hen rolled his eyes and scolded in a low voice. "If you have something to say, then say it quickly. I'm going to die, so you can go to hell with me." "Hee hee, don't be in such a hurry. Haven't you realized that every time you attack, the hidden force that you use to counterattack is your own strength?" And then, just as Chu Hen finished asking, the white-scaled serpent emperor's huge tail attacked him, and he was directly sent flying. He crashed on the ground for more than 10 meters before he could stop. Fortunately, Chu Hen's physical body was strong enough. If it was someone else, they would have been tortured to death a few times over. Fine. Let's put it simply. Otherwise, you're really going to die. The saintly winged heavenly flame sparrow couldn't stand it anymore. The white-scaled serpent emperor's scales are immune to metal weapons. Immune to weapons? Chu Hen was shocked, his face full of astonishment. That's right. Not only is it immune to weapons, but its scales can also reflect your strength attacks. So, unless you've been soaked in a special grass liquid or you have an absolute advantage in strength, no matter how you attack, it'll be useless. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I'll kill you, you slut. Chu Hen was so angry that his teeth itched. He had an urge to drag that stupid bird out and beat it up. Hee hee, you were the one who didn't tell me to talk just now, and now you're blaming me? Cut the crap. Get to the point. Boom. A powerful gust of wind swept over, and the white-scaled serpent emperor spat out a lightning-like white light from its mouth. The extremely violent and destructive undulation was filled with the aura of death. Chu Hen almost rolled on the ground to avoid it. "Don't use weapons," the saintly winged heavenly flame sparrow said. "What? In comparison, it'll be easier for you to injure it with your bare hands." No matter how he thought about it, this didn't seem like a good idea. However, Chu Hen didn't have the time to doubt the veracity of the other party's words. The white-scaled serpent emperor didn't intend to give him a way out at all. He had no other choice but to fight. Immediately, Chu Hen put away the limitless fang. Boom. Immediately after, a towering might erupted like a mountain torrent. Surging black light rose like the flames of the underworld. The energy of primal chaos exploded, causing Chu Hen's aura to multiply. At this moment, the white-scaled serpent emperor's terrifying tail swung over fiercely again, and a majestic pressure pressed down like a mountain. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. His fist, which was surrounded by black vital energy waves, collided head-on with the serpent's tail. Bang! The huge underground palace shook violently. Dazzling white light and dense black light immediately burst forth. Violent waves of air rose like clouds. Chu Hen's feet supported the ground as he retreated. What was different from before was that the white-scaled serpent emperor was also quickly bounced back this time. Crack! More than 10 scales cracked open, and traces of blood floated in the air. It really worked. Chu Hen's eyes lit up, and his face revealed a look of pleasant surprise. Although the blood in his body was also churning, and the bones in his hands were about to break, at least he had regained some ground. Humph, Serpent Emperor, right? The Emperor of Beasts, right? I had a good time beating you up just now. Let's see if I don't skin you alive today. Chu Hen roused himself, and he charged straight at the serpent with a violent aura. As the chaotic force stacked and rose, A dense patch of dark lightning spread out from within his body. The white-scaled serpent emperor's vertical pupils were filled with a sinister coldness. The scales that covered its body also stood up, and it swept up a powerful beast emperor aura as it faced Chu Hen. At this moment, in the valley outside, buzz! The clouds in the sky surged, and a towering mountain towered into the sky. The airflow in the entire valley became chaotic. Everyone from Moon Execution City, Shura Sect, Thousand Crane Sect, Illusory Rain Sect, and Heavenly Sword Pavilion had their eyes gathered on the stone monument in front of them. The light patterns that resembled colorful vines were resplendent and dazzling. However, the energy waves released by the stone monument fluctuated between strong and weak. It was extremely unstable. The ground of the mountains trembled faintly, and everyone could vaguely sense a strange aura. What's going on? Is the restriction about to be removed? Chapter 472. Outside the underground palace, in the valley, the geniuses and experts of the various sects stared at the majestic, restless, and extremely unstable seal stone tablet in front of them. The 100-meter-tall stone monument towered into the sky like a towering mountain. Gorgeous and mysterious runes covered the surface of the tablet. They were dazzling as if they were engraved by holy rainbows or ancient characters. It was eye-catching. Amidst the numerous strange talisman markings, the most eye-catching one was the seal runes in all 4 directions. Everyone's faces were filled with excitement and bewilderment. The stone tablet was becoming more and more unstable. What was going on? Was the barrier about to be removed? Or was there some other reason? In the Moon End City team, Luo Mingshang frowned slightly and pursed her lip. Her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. Chu Hen had been inside the stone tablet for some time. The reason why the monolith would set off such a chaotic aura was most likely caused by Chu Hen. What did the other party encounter inside? Luo Mingshang had no way of knowing. Everyone, why don't we work together to break through the stone tablet's barrier? At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the Illusory Rain Sect's team. The geniuses and experts from the various teams were slightly stunned. The person who spoke was none other than the young man who had been keeping a low profile since the beginning. He had an ordinary appearance and an ordinary temperament. Other than his fair skin, there was nothing outstanding about him. If such an ordinary person were to turn around and join the crowd, those who saw him would soon forget what he looked like, and this person was the leader of the Illusory Rain Sect's team. Song Yuanjia, Tu Yi, Ko Tianchen, Sherwen Xing. The group was slightly surprised. The top geniuses of the 100 Kingdoms provinces' various sects were rather famous. They had heard of each other. However, they did not know the person in front of them. "What's your name?" In the 1000 Crane Sect's team, Sherwen Xing stroked his chin with one hand and asked with interest. The man smiled and replied indifferently, "It's just a lowly name. It's not worth mentioning. It's not a solution for us to just wait here. Why don't we work together to break this barrier's seal? As for who gets the 4-directional curse stamp, it will be up to everyone's ability. What do you think?" "Hee, this junior brother is quite confident." Shura Sect's Tu Yi smiled evilly. His white teeth were filled with coldness. "When it comes to confidence, I'm afraid I can't compare to senior brother Tu Yi. Under such circumstances, the Shura Sect's senior brothers are still able to remain so calm. I'm impressed." He was naturally referring to the pressure the 2 core disciples of the 1000 Crane Sect were exerting on the Azura Sect. Tu Yi smiled calmly. "Heh, what's the big deal about this scene? It's not the first time we've dealt with each other. We all know each other's strengths and weaknesses." "Humph!" Ko Tianchen sneered, his eyes filled with mockery. "Do you still want to continue wasting time here?" The young man continued. The teams glanced at each other. Song Yuanjia of Moon End City took the initiative to express his opinion. "I agree to break through the barrier. Although all the people present here were from sects with rich resources and legacies, Moon Marked City had 8 powerful clans, and there were plenty of people with extraordinary innate talents. So, the overall strength of moon-marked city was not much weaker than those sections. No. However, as soon as Tsang Yuanzhi finished speaking, he was immediately met with Luo Mengchang's objection. Everyone in the room couldn't help but frown as they revealed suspicious expressions. Luo Mengchang actually objected? She raised her beautiful eyes and opened her red lips. Everyone here knows how powerful an earth pattern master is. No one can guarantee the consequences of recklessly attacking the rune technique set up by Shifeng Zi. When she said this, everyone felt that it made sense. Wu Xiu, who was in the void-piercing realm, was extremely dangerous in front of an earth pattern master's rune technique. I support Miss Mengchang, said Mu Feng from the Heavenly Sword Pavilion with a smile. The others did not express much of an opinion. Just as everyone was planning to make a long-term plan, the young man from the Illusory Rain sect smiled indifferently with a profound meaning. Great Beauty Luo, I'm afraid that your objection is not for everyone's safety, right? Everyone focused their attention on Luo Mengchang again. Then why do you think I'm doing this? Luo Mengchang replied calmly. What I want to say is, Great Beauty Luo, your appearance is too coincidental. The young man raised his eyebrows slightly, the smile on his face carrying a hint of femininity. Since you came with the people of Moon End City, why did you leave halfway? It has nothing to do with you, right? It's fine if you don't want to say it. Then let me guess. Perhaps you left midway because of someone? And when you appeared here, you destroyed a mountain peak and caused such a huge commotion. Whose attention were you trying to attract? Alright. Just as you said, you were attacked by a demonic beast. But why did the stone tablet, which had clearly calmed down, suddenly become violent and chaotic at the same time? The young man's words were clear, helping everyone sort out their confusion. Luo Mengchang did not speak. However, the young man became even more pleased. Alright. Beauties have their privileges, especially a beauty like Great Beauty Luo. Whatever she says is what it is. We'll believe what you said for now, and everything is just a coincidence. However, your objection just now was very resolute. So, let me boldly imagine that Great Beauty Luo is not worried about everyone's safety, but the safety of the person who came with you. The person who came with you, whoosh! His words woke everyone up from their dreams. In an instant, everyone from the various groups came to a sudden realization. Ko Tianchen, Sherwen Xing, and Tu Yi were the first to explode with a sharp gleam in their eyes. Especially powerful auras exploded from their bodies. Buzz buzz, in the next instant 3 dazzling pillars of light burst out from the palms of the 3 people, sweeping up a powerful force that traversed the sky and hit the stone tablet solidly. Boom! It was earth-shattering and the mountains trembled. Hurricanes howled between heaven and earth, and surging waves of energy set off waves of rubble and dust. The seal stone tablet, which had been attacked by an external force, was like an angry volcano, erupting with a powerful force that soared to the sky. The light curtain that lingered around the stone tablet flashed with countless divine rainbow-like light patterns. It was as powerful as a god's. The mighty aftershock spread in all directions, and the ground beneath the valley began to split open into deep and gloomy crevices. Other than Tu Yi, Ko Tianchen, Sherwen Xing, and a few other strong geniuses who could still maintain their composure, many people were shaken by the majestic aura and were forced to retreat. Looking at the seal stone tablet that was abnormally shaking violently, Luo Mengchang clenched her jade-like hands. Her pretty face changed slightly, and deep worry filled her eyes. Everyone had already seen through her and Chu Hen's plan. With Luo Mengchang's strength alone, there was no way she could stop so many experts, so she could only trust in Chu Hen. Immediately, Wu Xiu from the Illusory Rain sect, Thousand Crane sect, and Shura sect began to attack the stone tablet. Following that, the Moon End City team also joined in under Tsang Yuanzhi's lead. On the other hand, the Heavenly Sword Pavilion did not take any action. Mu Feng narrowed his eyes and looked doubtfully at Luo Mengchang, who was not far away. He muttered to himself, "For Miss Mengchang to be so protective of someone, could it be the stone tablet suppressed the White Serpent King, and the underground palace trapped the Beast Emperor? In the underground palace." Boom! Bang! The fierce forces collided, causing all sorts of intense explosions in the underground palace. The dark green luster and the domineering black light were like meteorites colliding. Every time they collided, sparks would fly and true essence would wreak havoc in the huge underground palace. The battle between Chu Hen and the white-scaled serpent emperor was simple and violent. One man and one beast, fighting each other at close range, could be said to be exceptionally fierce and brutal. Chu Hen's entire body was enveloped in a purplish-black brilliance. Revealing a furious and domineering aura, he directly engaged in a hand-to-hand fight with his opponent with his bare hands. The white-scaled serpent emperor's body emitted a green light, and the powerful beast emperor's aura was daunting and frightening. However, after a series of fierce clashes, Chu Hen seemed to have gotten used to his opponent's oppressive aura. He was no longer as restrained as before, and the invisible pressure on his body had been greatly reduced. If anyone else were to witness this scene, they would probably be so shocked that their jaws would drop to the ground. The white-scaled serpent emperor, which everyone feared and would turn pale at the mention of, was actually covered in bloody wounds at this moment. Large pieces of its scales had been shattered and fallen off, and many parts of its body were badly mutilated. It looked as if it had been smashed by a heavy hammer. No one could imagine that the one who caused such injuries to the white-scaled serpent emperor was Wu Xiu, who was only at the third rank of the void-piercing realm. Even if 90% of the white-scaled serpent emperor's strength was sealed, absolutely no one would believe that the other party could be injured so badly. However, Chu Hen was not much better. His entire body was covered in wounds and fresh blood dripped from it. A large portion of the clothes on his body was dyed red by fresh blood, and a few scars were slashed on his firm and handsome face. Even so, Chu Hen's pair of demonic eyes still emitted a high fighting spirit. The more he fought, the more courageous he became. Under the strong and flourishing aura, faintly revealed a ruthless aura. Compared to the white-scaled serpent emperor, Chu Hen seemed to be more like a violent beast. At the beginning, while Chu Hen dodged, he saw the right opportunity and launched a counterattack. Later on, Chu Hen directly confronted the white-scaled serpent emperor head-on. Although most of the time, Chu Hen would be knocked back, he would quickly stand up again and fight with the serpent emperor. The more the white-scaled serpent emperor fought, the more frightened it became. It originally thought that this puny human in front of it could be easily dealt with, but it never expected that Chu Hen's strength was somewhat terrifying. Boom! The heavy and violent collision of energy once again exploded in the air, and the entire underground palace shook violently. Chu Hen's solid right fist smashed fiercely on the other party's head. The power of chaos and the power of demon eyes surged like a violent tide. A large piece of the scales on the white-scaled serpent emperor's forehead burst open, and blood splattered. A cold light flashed in its eyes, and it opened its mouth to spit out its blood-like tongue. Like a rainbow sword, it pierced towards Chu Hen's heart. However, Chu Hen's demon eyes also released a demonic purple light. He nimbly somersaulted in midair, avoiding the other party's attack, and landed steadily on the serpent emperor's head. Immediately after, Chu Hen opened his left palm, and with lightning speed, he placed his left hand on the other party's head. Buzz! In the next instant, an incomparably powerful force exploded from Chu Hen's palm, and a dazzling silver light bloomed like the sun. I don't believe that you can still be King immune to the power of a Saint Tool. The veins on Chu Hen's arm bulged, and he shouted loudly. Chapter 473. Dubhe Star Soul Pearl Explode. An incomparably strong and powerful aura suddenly burst forth from Chu Hen's palm. The silver light that was as bright as the sun exploded with an extremely violent impact. Chu Hen's left hand, which held the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl, was firmly pressed against the white-scaled serpent emperor's head. The blood vessels on his arm bulged, and a dazzling silver light immediately bloomed. Bang! The force of the impact was like a mountain torrent, and the deafening sound was like the crisscrossing of thunder. The space shook violently, waves of air flew everywhere, and strong winds spread out. A large piece of white scales was blasted away, and blood splattered everywhere. A bloody hole was blasted open on the white-scaled serpent emperor's huge head. Hiss! The huge serpent's body fell from the sky, along with the dancing blood mist. It heavily smashed into the pool, and splashed more than 10 meters high into the sky. The fierce, beast-like close combat finally gave him the upper hand. Chu Hen's body was covered in blood, and a pair of demonic purple eyes flickered with a cold light. Through the pool water below, Chu Hen could clearly sense that the white-scaled serpent emperor's aura was still strong, and the demonic beast power within its body was still especially restless and violent. Chu Hen was secretly shocked. This was indeed a terrifying existence of the beast emperor level. It had already been beaten to this state, but it still hadn't suffered any serious injuries. Buzz buzz! Without the slightest hesitation, the surging aura around Chu Hen's body increased, and the vast true inner force spread out like a sea of smoke. The air was filled with a strong destructive aura. The white-scaled serpent emperor's snake eyes were filled with endless coldness as it stared at its opponent. There was both a warning and anger in its eyes. Just as Chu Hen was about to take advantage of the situation and attack, a shocking change suddenly occurred. Boom! A heavy collision sound came from outside. The huge underground palace was shaking restlessly. Waves rose from the pool down below, and the runes drawn on the walls all shone with a bright and beautiful light. The mysterious talismans on the steps around the pool seemed to have been activated. Runic numbers that looked like bold calligraphy intersected with each other as the vines of light flickered and exploded with dazzling silver holy light. What was going on? Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat, and his face turned solemn. Could it be that the seal steel outside had been attacked? Was the restriction seal about to be removed? In an instant, the entire palace became abnormally chaotic. A series of light-patterned secret inscriptions that were lit up instantly erupted with dazzling brilliance, illuminating every dark corner. Chaotic energy filled the entire space. At this moment, the inside of the underground palace was like the belly of a volcano that was brewing magma, surging with hot air waves and chaotic energy. At this moment, the white-scaled serpent emperor's ice-cold eyes shot out 2 rays of green light. Boom! Soon after, he suddenly bounced up from the pool, and the water splashed everywhere. The white-scaled serpent emperor actually stood up, and its body released a green light. The might of the beast emperor rose once again, and a majestic suction force surged out of its body, causing the pool to churn violently. The faint golden spirit liquid contained in the pool was greatly attracted, and it quickly rushed into the white-scaled serpent emperor's huge body. The mighty scene was like a giant whale sucking in water, and it was hard to resist. In the blink of an eye, the pool of faint golden liquid had turned into an ordinary pool of turbid water. All of the shallow spirit sweet soul liquid was completely absorbed by the white-scaled serpent emperor, leaving not a single drop behind. Buzz! A terrifying, cold aura enveloped Chu Hen from all directions. The biting cold might of the beast emperor increased exponentially. In the huge underground palace, a strong, cold whirlwind swept up, and a surging green light covered the white-scaled serpent emperor's body. The destructive energy that had accumulated in its body for a long time seemed to be able to break through its restraints and tear apart its shackles. The runes that covered the entire underground palace became even more restless. Rumble! Along with the trembling of the air waves that caused the space to distort, a dazzling multicolored light suddenly appeared above the palace. A pressure that was comparable to a mountain came crashing down, and a majestic and imposing phantom stone tablet actually pressed down on the white-scaled serpent emperor. This stone tablet phantom was almost exactly the same as the one outside. It was like a miniature version of the giant stone tablet. Boom! Bang! The seal power of the sigil stone tablet collided with the might of the white-scaled serpent emperor's beast emperor, and it was comparable to the violent collision of a rushing flood and a mountain. The intense collision of power caused a deafening explosion of thunder. The white-scaled serpent emperor's entire body was shrouded in a green shadow, and it continuously set off layers of terrifying power, attacking the rapidly descending phantom stone tablet. The strong, biting cold shock waves spread outwards. The blood in Chu Hen's body surged abnormally, and he looked at the scene in front of him with a face full of shock. This was the moment that the white-scaled serpent emperor had been waiting for. The ignorant fellows outside attacked the sigil stone tablet from the outside, while the white-scaled serpent emperor attacked the seal power from within. Under the combined attacks of both parties, the phantom stone tablet above the serpent emperor rapidly turned transparent at a speed visible to the naked eye. The ferocious aura that erupted from this shocking beast also became more and more intense. Chu Hen could even clearly see the cracks that had appeared on the phantom stone tablet. In the valley, the geniuses of Moon End City, Illusory Rain Sect, Shura Sect, and Thousand Crane Sect continued to fearlessly charge at the stone tablet. Beams of dazzling light beams, which looked like meteorites falling from the sky, continuously hit the huge stone tablet on the stone platform. Under the onslaught of everyone, the giant tablet shook violently, and the mountains trembled incessantly. In the void of the 9 heavens, the clouds churned and chaotic air currents filled the sky, enveloping the entire region. Looking at the increasingly illusory spirit formation light screen outside the stone tablet, the various teams' martial cultivators all revealed intense excitement and joy on their faces. The barrier is about to be broken, a young disciple from the Illusory Rain sect exclaimed. Everyone's eyes lit up, and they once again increased the output of their quintessential energy. Looking at the tottering, towering stone tablet, Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes began to fill with worry. Just what was going on with Chu Hen inside at a time like this? It was truly worrying. Boom! Along with a heavy bang that shook hundreds of miles, under the joint impact of more than a dozen powerful true essence light pillars, the barrier light curtain that enveloped the 1,000 feet large monument burst into thousands of crystal fragments like a bubble illusion. Then, a monstrous evil aura rose like a raging wave from the deep sea. The resentment and ferocious aura that had been suppressed for a long time spread out in all directions with the stone platform as the center. Crack! Deep and narrow cracks spread out on the sigil stone tablet's stone wall. Thunder roared and white light flashed. Before the crowd could rejoice, they were invaded by an extremely cold and ferocious aura. This feeling was like a ferocious creature that had been trapped for a long time was about to break out of its cage. Woo! In the next moment, something that made everyone shudder in fear happened. A wild and shocking aura surged into the sky, and the shadow of a giant white python covered in rhombus-shaped scales suddenly sprang out from the stone platform below. Then, it wrapped around the tablet and crawled up. The giant python coiled around the stone tablet, and its ferocious aura shook the heavens. The temperature within 100 kilometers seemed to have dropped by a level. Looking at the giant white python in front of them, everyone's faces instantly turned pale. Their eyes widened, and their faces were filled with horror. It's the white-scaled serpent emperor! Damn it, this sigil stone tablet is used to suppress the serpent emperor. We've released it. Shock, fear, and a deep shudder. Everyone suddenly understood the significance of the sigil stone tablet's existence here. Luo Mengshang's beautiful eyes were wide open, and her small mouth was slightly open. She clenched her fists so hard that her knuckles turned white. If it was said that there was a beast king suppressed beneath the seal stone tablet, then Chu Hen would be in grave danger. Shu, the white-scaled serpent emperor, wrapped around the giant tablet, and its roar shook the heavens and the earth. More and more cracks appeared on the stone tablet, and the bricks and soil fell like a landslide. The white-scaled serpent emperor's huge body turned from illusory to solid, and the ferocious aura it exuded became even more terrifying. Go! Retreat! The teams from the major forces did not hesitate at all. They only had one thought in mind, and that was to retreat as soon as possible. Once the beast emperor broke through the seal, no one would be able to survive. Screech! However, at this moment, a loud and clear cry that resounded through the 9 heavens resounded from within the 100-foot-tall stone tablet. Everyone's heart suddenly trembled. Immediately after, a gorgeous colorful brilliance rose from the stone tablet like a tide. What was going on? Everyone stopped in their tracks. The colorful brilliance that gushed out from the stone tablet was like auspicious clouds, and the huge body of the white-scaled serpent emperor was shrouded and sealed within it. The serpent emperor's ferocious aura was instantly suppressed, and the solid shadow became illusory and ethereal again. The geniuses from the major forces looked at each other, and they all saw the deep astonishment in each other's eyes. What's going on? Could it be the second layer of the sigil stone tablet's restriction? It's possible. In the underground palace. The originally dark and gloomy underground palace became dazzling at this moment, and the scorching heat waves came one after another, covering the sky and earth. At that moment, the scene that appeared in front of Chu Hen was something he had never seen before. The white-scaled serpent emperor's body was shrouded in a colorful brilliance, and the one releasing this powerful holy light was a magnificent sparrow that emitted a disdainful aura. At the critical moment just before the white-scaled serpent emperor broke through the seal, the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow that had been hiding in Chu Hen's body, waiting for an opportunity to strike, rushed out without hesitation, and suppressed the other party's ferocious aura with its supreme might. The giant tablet's shadow was suppressed above the white-scaled serpent emperor's head. In front of it, the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow's holy radiance shone brightly. Even though the white-scaled serpent emperor was a beast emperor, it still could not help but tremble in front of the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow. Screech! The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow let out a low, dignified cry. Buzz! Countless colorful patterns of golden flames blossomed like a rain of fireworks, then formed a huge net, sealing off all of the white-scaled serpent emperor's escape routes. Then, an incomparably powerful devouring force erupted. Chapter 474. Buzz, countless rays of holy light, which were dominated by golden flames, wantonly blossomed, and the gorgeous light patterns made the entire palace colorful. A dazzling net trapped the white-scaled serpent emperor within, and light runes that intertwined like vines rapidly wrapped around the serpent emperor's body. Shortly after, an unstoppable devouring force erupted from the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's body. Dense demonic yuan and the energy of the sweet spirit soul liquid were forcibly extracted and poured into the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's body. The scene of what happened in the thunderclap territory of the Blackwater River once again appeared in front of Chu Hen. At this moment, the white-scaled serpent emperor was like the darkwing flood dragon, its demonic yuan forcefully seized by the opponent. Jesse, the white-scaled serpent emperor, was shocked, angry, and afraid. It swayed its enormous body, trying its best to resist, but the more it resisted, the denser the colorful light around its body became. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird was peerless and looked down on all things. A pair of huge, colorful wings spread out, almost covering the entire underground palace. Although the heavenly flame bird's current strength was far from its peak, the white-scaled serpent emperor's power was also sealed by 80 to 90%. Moreover, the serpent emperor's continuous attacks on the seal stone tablet had consumed a great deal of energy. Due to various factors, the white-scaled serpent emperor was firmly suppressed by the sacred winged heavenly flame bird. Chu Hen slightly knitted his brows, inwardly shocked. Even the beast emperor-level white-scaled serpent emperor couldn't resist the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's aura. Chu Hen was once again shocked by the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's level. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird's aura continued to grow stronger, and the light that erupted from its body was like a rainbow sprinkling down after the rain. No. Once the opponent devoured the white-scaled serpent emperor's demonic yuan, the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's strength would surely soar. At that time, he would be in danger. Chu Hen quickly made a decision in his mind. Then, Chu Hen's purple eyes narrowed. His figure moved, directly flying to the area between the sacred winged heavenly flame bird and the white-scaled serpent emperor. Boom! In the next instant, a surging black light that was like a black flame rose and exploded from Chu Hen's body. Swish, swish. Immediately after, countless black light rays flew out from the restless black light. Along with the rapid and sharp wind breaking momentum, the overwhelming black light rays pierced through the stacked energy light curtain in front of them and once again wrapped around the white-scaled serpent emperor's body. The power of primal chaos swept out in all directions. Buzz buzz. In front of Chu Hen, a whirlpool was formed from the black flames. A black demonic hand stretched out from the whirlpool, reaching out towards the white-scaled serpent emperor in front of him. The white-scaled serpent emperor was both shocked and furious. It struggled with all its might, but it was mostly terrified. Rumble, the cold and powerful demonic god's hand rippled in the air, and in an instant, an even more overbearing plundering power erupted from the palm. The airflow between the two seemed to have been sucked out in an instant. The majestic demonic primal chaos that originated from the white-scaled serpent emperor's body rapidly gathered in front of the black hand, and like water that had opened a dam, it flowed through the power of primal chaos and into Chu Hen's body. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird's cold eyes narrowed. It did not expect Chu Hen to make such a move. It thought to itself, this damn brat is really smart. However, the sacred winged heavenly flame bird did not seem to have any intention of stopping Chu Hen. It only increased the speed at which it plundered the serpent emperor's demonic primal chaos. Chu Hen was not to be outdone, and he also increased the output of his primal chaos power. It was as if both sides had just started a competition, and they were definitely not weaker than each other. However, at this moment, the white-scaled serpent emperor really wanted to cry. What sins did it commit in its previous life to encounter these two monsters? It was fine if it was the sacred winged heavenly flame bird. As a top demonic beast race, it was not strange for it to be able to withstand the power of the beast emperor. However, a weak human like Chu Hen, who was only at the void-piercing realm, was actually able to seize the Beast Emperor's demonic primal chaos in such a shocking manner. If it were any other ordinary person, the moment the Beast Emperor's demonic primal chaos entered their body, it would instantly cause their meridians to explode. However, what the white-scaled serpent emperor did not know was that back in the Thousand Crane sect, Chu Hen had seized the sacred-winged heavenly flame bird's demonic primal chaos twice in a row and fused it with his own primal chaos. If he could even fuse the sacred-winged heavenly flame bird's power, then there was no need to mention the white-scaled serpent emperor. The auras released by the sacred-winged heavenly flame bird and Chu Hen became increasingly powerful. However, the white-scaled serpent emperor became increasingly weak. The situation was already hopeless. No matter how much he thought about it, the white-scaled serpent emperor never expected that there was such a terrifying fellow hidden in Chu Hen's body. The outcome was already decided. Buzz buzz. Especially restless and violent energy enveloped Chu Hen's body, violently pulsing and rising. Wild gales raged, and the space around Chu Hen became faintly distorted. Boom. Suddenly, an incomparably powerful Reiki energy fluctuation suddenly leaked out from Chu Hen's Naiwan palace. A faint golden halo spread out, and the pool below set off huge wave. The space trembled endlessly. The strength of Chu Hen's Reiki energy instantly broke through from the 7th rank to the 8th rank. The power within the white-scaled serpent emperor's body did not only consist of the beast emperor's demonic primal chaos. There was also the shallow spirit sweet soul fluid that filled the pool earlier. As a natural treasure nurtured by the spiritual root of all things, the shallow spirit sweet soul fluid's greatest use was in terms of the Reiki energy of a pattern caster. A steady stream of shallow spirit sweet soul fluid flowed into Chu Hen's Niwen Palace. It nourished the street tree like a fairy spring. Soon, the Reiki energy in the Niwen Palace once again returned to a saturated state, and a surging power like the undercurrent of the deep sea rose and leaked out. Buzz. In the underground palace, the power was tumbling chaotically. The condensed golden Reiki energy spread out from between Chu Hen's eyebrows. In an instant, an energy riot that was many times stronger than before spread out. The whirlwind of Reiki energy intertwined and enveloped Chu Hen's entire body, and the transcendent aura was like a graceful swan. Consecutive breakthroughs. A 9th-rank pattern caster. In less than half a cup of tea's time, he jumped 2 levels in a row and directly entered the ranks of the 9th rank from the 7th-rank pattern caster. It could not be said that it was not shocking. And then, an even more shocking thing happened again. Boom! A majestic surge of purple light suddenly surged out of Chu Hen's body. The incomparably powerful might set off a raging tornado. In an instant, the entire underground palace shook uncontrollably. Endless demonic purple light lingered around Chu Hen's body and rapidly rotated. At this moment, even the peerless elegance of the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow was overshadowed by Chu Hen. An extremely restless power bloomed and exploded in Chu Hen's eyes, and the huge underground palace was completely enveloped by this demonic purple light. An unprecedentedly powerful aura whistled in all directions. The white-scaled serpent emperor, which was directly in front of Chu Hen, and its huge herd of beasts trembled violently. The bloodline aura that Chu Hen emitted made even the beast emperor feel extremely uneasy. Then, the white-scaled serpent emperor's vertical pupils trembled tightly. Boom! Chu Hen slowly closed his eyes. After a short 2 seconds, his eyelids suddenly opened. His demonic pupils shone brilliantly, and the 3 black dots in the depths of his pupils swayed uneasily. In the next instant, one of the black dots suddenly split into 2. In an instant, 4 black dots appeared in the depths of the demonic purple pupils. His aura was monstrous and incomparable. It was as if a pair of demon god's eyes were embedded in Chu Hen's demonic face. 4-star demonic pupils break through. Outside the underground palace, in the valley. Rumble! Thunder rumbled and storms raged, and the sky darkened. The geniuses and experts of Moon End City, Heavenly Sword Pavilion, Shura Sect, Thousand Crane Sect, and Illusory Rain Sect all stared at the imposing stone tablet in front of them with incomparably solemn expressions. The illusory white-scaled serpent emperor coiled around the huge tablet, emitting an endless tyrannical aura. The multicolored radiance blotted out the sky like a divine rainbow, and it enveloped the entire stele. It coiled around the white-scaled serpent emperor and ceaselessly weakened its baleful aura, causing it to be unable to struggle free of the steel's seal. Hiss! Shurwenshing of the Thousand Crane Sect sucked in a deep breath and said in amazement, "The seal set up by an earth tattoo master is indeed powerful." Ko Tianchen nodded inwardly with a shocked expression. In the eyes of the crowd, the colorful brilliance that was suppressing the white-scaled serpent emperor was the second layer of the seal here. Apart from that, the crowd really could not think of any other power that could trap a terrifying beast like the white-scaled serpent emperor. While everyone was shocked, they could not help but secretly wonder who the person Luo Mengshang was protecting was. Of course, no matter who it was likely that they would die. Luo Mengshang bit her red lips, and her beautiful face was filled with worry. "Don't let anything happen to you. We still have a promise between the two of us." In the underground palace, a turbulent power filled the entire underground palace, and the strange runes and secret scrolls on the 4 walls lit up to their limit. The boundless purple light could destroy the seal here at any time. As the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow and Chu Hen continued to plunder demonic primordial energy, the white-scaled serpent emperor's aura became increasingly weak, and its cold green snake eyes also became dim. It's doomed. It's definitely doomed. Looking at the pair of demonic eyes on the young man's face, the white-scaled serpent emperor suddenly understood that its fate was already sealed the moment the other party entered this place. Chu Hen's aura was demonic, and he was no longer in a sorry state. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. The white-scaled serpent emperor's snake eyes suddenly erupted with a resolute and vicious light. An extremely vicious aura suddenly condensed and surged within its body, and green light that resembled will-o'-the wisp jumped around its body with extreme unease. "Damn brat, it's going to explode its demonic core!" the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow shouted coldly. Chapter 475. Damn brat, it's going to detonate its demon core. As soon as the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow's voice fell, a boundless aura of danger instantly erupted like a volcano, sweeping up a dense destructive power and spreading out. The white-scaled serpent emperor, who knew that it had lost, preserved its last shred of dignity as a beast emperor. Boom! A deafening explosion suddenly rang out, and the white-scaled serpent emperor, whose entire body was covered in a berserk green light, directly exploded from the center. Thunderstorms crisscrossed, deafening everyone's ears. A terrifying green tide soared into the sky, like a violent shockwave created by the fusion of volcanic lava and tsunami wave. In an instant, the illusory stone tablet floating in the air was instantly shattered. The extremely shocking destructive energy instantly broke through the power of the seal, and the runic walls of the entire underground palace were shattered. The pool below also exploded inch by inch, flattening into ruins. The violent energy was extremely destructive, and the chaotic runoff directly swept towards Chu Hen and the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow with a might that could crush everything. However, Chu Hen's face did not show any signs of panic. Boom! In an instant, the demonic purple eyes shone brightly, and a layer of dazzling and solid purple light screen soared into the sky like a tide, immediately blocking in front of Chu Hen. At the same time, the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow's defense was also activated. A dazzling golden splendor spread out, covering the top and bottom of the purple light screen, forming a second layer of absolute defense. At the same time, rumble! The 1,000-foot-tall stone tablet that stood in the middle of the valley collapsed with a bang. Rocks of all sizes were scattered everywhere. Powerful and dazzling light patterns continuously swept out in all directions. Space distorted and trembled, as if it would be torn apart at any time. A piercingly cold and powerful wave of air swept across the world. In the instant before the stone tablet exploded, the gigantic white-scaled serpent emperor phantom also exploded into streaks of light that filled the sky. The sky and earth lost color and the clouds churned. The vast scene was like a star that had exploded, and the powerful and terrifying aftershock caused the genius experts of the various powers to be caught off guard, causing all of them to be blasted flying. Many of them were weaker and had slower reactions. Their internal organs felt like they were being torn apart. Blood surged up and they vomited blood. Ko Tianchen, Tu Yi, Shi Wenxing, Song Yuanjia, Mu Feng, and the others all flew back. Luo Mengchang landed on the ground in a panic, and her pretty face was pale. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted, and her jade-like hands were clenched into fists. A heartbreaking sadness appeared in her eyes. The violent tremors came one after another. The mountains trembled and the earth cracked. Within a radius of 12 miles, a thick layer of the ground was shaved off. Rocks, grass, and trees were flattened into ruins. Deep cracks appeared on the ground of the valley. The wind howled and rocks flew everywhere. Everyone's faces were filled with deep shock. What happened? It seems like the seal has been broken. The white-scaled serpent emperor seems to have been destroyed as well. Everyone's hearts were filled with disbelief. Looking at the stone platform and the giant monument that had been blasted into ruins in an instant, only a few people could recover from the shock. But at this moment, something amazing happened again. The rocks that were scattered in the valley did not lose their previous luster. The patterns on the rocks were strange, like ancient talisman patterns and numbers, and they emitted a bright brilliance. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the glowing rocks in front of them. Suddenly, an intense dazzling brilliance burst out from one of the rocks. Then, a silver light ball about the size of a fist soared into the sky from the rock, like a meteor piercing through the moon. When everyone looked at it, they saw that there was a strange talisman pattern inside the silver light ball. The talisman pattern was crystal clear and glowed with a soft luster. "It's a curse seal talisman pattern," a young man from Moon End City exclaimed. "Curse seal talisman pattern." As soon as they heard these words, everyone's hearts trembled faintly. Their eyes were filled with intense joy and excitement. Before anyone could take any action, Yi Chen had already made his move. In an instant, a bright light ball flew out from the rocks below. It was dazzling, like a rain of stars that had returned to the sky. "It's all curse seal talisman patterns." Everyone was shocked and sighed in amazement. "But there are so many curse seal talisman patterns. Which one is the four-sided curse seal?" When they were observing earlier, they noticed that there was only one four-sided curse seal in the entire curse seal stele. Spirit Sky, Berserk Transformation, Doppelganger, and Transformation, these famous four-sided curse seals were only carved on one each. But now, there were dozens of curse seal talisman patterns in front of everyone. Presumably, the four-sided curse seal was mixed in with them. There was a moment of silence. In an instant, Ko Tianchen, Tu Yi, Sherwin Star, Song Yuanjia, and all the other geniuses from the various teams had sharp and cold lights in their eyes. Without saying a word, everyone rose up in anger and rushed toward the ruins from all directions. The sound of the sharp wind breaking was rapid and sharp. The geniuses from all over instantly started an intense competition for the four-sided curse seal. "The four-sided curse seal is mine. No one can have a share of it." "Fuck off. Who do you think you are? Fuck off. Humph. You're courting death." In an instant, a chaotic battle between the teams from the five great powers silently erupted. The four-sided curse seal was definitely a huge temptation for everyone present. The geniuses from all walks of life stood on their own sides and displayed their own powerful technique. "Humph. Trash like you want to fight for the four-sided curse seal?" The Azura Sex Tu Yi was peerlessly domineering, and his entire body emanated a dense aura of blood. "Fuck off!" he shouted loudly, and then a strand of powerful aura erupted from his body, causing the few competitors around him to be blasted flying. Buzz, after that, Tu Ye's palm moved, and a few balls of light before him were directly sucked into his palm. Tu Yi glanced at them coldly and saw that the balls of light were the fire curse seal, the water curse seal, the wind curse seal, and other ordinary curse seal runes. There was no four-sided curse seal that he was looking for. "Hey, wild dog, look at your stinking face. I'm afraid you've gotten a good treasure." A mocking sneer was heard. At the same time that Ko Tianchen kept the two balls of light, he raised his hand and struck a palm toward Tu Yi. The powerful palm energy was vast and mighty like a surging tide, causing the space to tremble. Tu Yi snorted disdainfully and also raised a palm blade to meet the attack. Boom! The two forces collided, and a chaotic energy riot burst out. Spiritual ether rippled, and cold lights intertwined. Sparks flew in all directions from the fierce battle, and the sky was in chaos. In such a chaotic scene, the leaders of the major teams still had the upper hand. Apart from Luo Mengchang, everyone participated in the battle of the cursed seal runes. A series of dazzling lights covered the sky and whistled in all directions. Meanwhile, in the underground palace where Chu Hen was, a large area had collapsed and collapsed. Chu Hen was in a narrow space, and wisps of purple light lingered around his body. The walls that were covered with strange runes were only broken walls. The pool in the center of the palace had been filled with rubble, and the stone bridge in the middle of the palace had been broken into countless pieces. The powerful aftershock caused by the fierce battle outside continued to pour down. Under the assault of the violent shock waves, bricks of all sizes were still falling from the underground palace. Some of the remaining energy forces were also being squeezed and exploded a second time. I have to leave as soon as possible, or I'll be buried alive later, Chu Hen muttered to himself. Boom! But at this moment, a heavy boulder suddenly fell a few meters in front of Chu Hen. It was unknown what kind of obscure restriction was triggered, but a patch of gorgeous light patterns appeared on the ground, and soon after, a bang resounded. Dust flew into the air, rocks splashed and exploded, and the scattered brilliance was like a blossoming rain of fireworks. Suddenly, Chu Hen's demonic purple eyes flashed with a demonic brilliance. He saw that the randomly splashing light rain was mixed with a strange light beam. Under the detection of the power of the demonic eyes, Chu Hen clearly found that the strange light beam was faintly exuding a slight power fluctuation. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and a suction force was released from his palm. Swoosh! The light beam suddenly changed its trajectory and fell into Chu Hen's palm. When the light beam entered his hand, a cool feeling spread along his palm. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and saw that it turned out to be a small piece of copper. The copper piece was about the length of a chopstick, 2 fingers wide, thin as a cicada's wing, and emitted a soft light. What is this? Chu Hen was slightly taken aback, and then he thought to himself, something that can be so perfectly preserved in the terrifying energy turbulence just now is definitely not ordinary. Of course, Chu Hen also knew that now was not the time to study it. Then, he put the strange copper piece into his storage ring and prepared to leave. Boom! The chaotic battle of geniuses was earth-shattering. The series of battles between Moon End City, Sect of Illusory Rain, Heavenly Sword Pavilion, Thousand Crane Sect, and Shura Sect made the already turbulent valley even more chaotic. Sword light and saber shadows covered the world. Spear light and halberd edge tore through the air. All sorts of dazzling and majestic quintessential essence bombarded each other, and it was truly earth-shattering. The surrounding mountain ranges were constantly flattened and collapsed. Under the competition of elimination, there were fewer and fewer blobs of light fluttering in the sky. This also meant that the figure of the sigil was about to appear. Swoosh! Suddenly, a black blob of light attracted the attention of many people. The runic sigil in the black blob of light was striped, and it looked like a ball of string. Compared to the other runic sigil, the energy fluctuation it emitted was especially powerful. What's that? Transformation sigil. It can't be wrong. Whoosh! Chapter 476. It's the shape-shifting incantation. Whoosh! The incantation that was shrouded in a soft black light had stripes on it. It looked like a ball of string. With just a glance, everyone could tell it was one of the 4 cardinal incantations, the shape-shifting incantation. Gusts of wind whistled through the air as a genius from Azura sect arrived in front of the clone incantation first. He raised his hand and grabbed at the incantation. Hee, the 4 cardinal incantation is mine. A proud smile appeared on the man's face. However, at this moment, a powerful sword aura pierced through the air. The majestic sword energy left a trail of light shadows in the air as it slashed at the man's arm with a piercingly cold aura. Hey, put your dog's paw back! That person's expression changed, and he hurriedly withdrew his arm. The powerful golden sword shadow flew past him. Although it did not injure him, the aura it emitted still caused him to be pushed back several meters. The man from Azura sect shouted fiercely as he stared at the smiling Mu Feng with eyes filled with anger. It's you, you idiot! F***ck, your ancestor crawled out of his grave. How dare a fool like you call me an idiot? Mu Feng sneered disdainfully as a treasured sword appeared in his hand. Swoosh! A vigorous golden sword aura surged out from the blade of the sword like raging flames. Mu Feng raised his hand and swung the sword, causing the space to tremble slightly. A swift and fierce sword shadow that resembled a meteor chasing after the moon slashed down diagonally towards his opponent. Bang! The young man from Azura sect was caught off guard and took a direct hit from Mu Feng's sword. He was sent flying as blood splattered everywhere. A bloody wound that was so deep that the bone could be seen extended from his chest to his ribs. Humph! Mu Feng stood with his sword in hand. He shook his head in a self-righteous manner and said proudly, "Brother, your wife really loves me. You can go in peace." The young man's injury was not fatal. However, the moment he heard Mu Feng's words, he was so angry that he spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. After sending his opponent flying with a single strike, Mu Feng immediately turned around and raised his longsword, probing the cloning seal. But right at this moment, a majestic aura that was stronger than Mu Feng's suddenly crushed over. Before Mu Feng could react, a fair and slender beautiful palm firmly slapped the blade of the treasured sword. Bang! A powerful force came crashing down with the momentum of toppling mountains and overturning seas. Mu Feng suddenly felt his arm go numb. His palm felt like it was about to crack, and the sword in his hand almost flew out. "Haha, is this all the young master of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion can do?" A faint sneer entered Mu Feng's ears. When Mu Feng came back to his senses, he couldn't help but stare blankly. He thought that the one who attacked him would be a young girl, but the other party turned out to be a man. This man was none other than the leader of the Illusory Rain Sect's team. He had an ordinary appearance and an ordinary temperament. Other than his skin being as white as an egg without its shell, there was nothing else special about him. "Damn, it's you, you damn transvestite!" Mu Feng cursed. After saying that, Mu Feng attacked once again. Waves of ripples appeared in the air, and streams of sword chi that were spinning at high speed gathered in front of the sword, forming a spiraling sword chi attack. The astonishing strangling power caused the space to tremble endlessly. The power of Mu Feng's strike definitely lived up to his title as the young master of the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. However, the ordinary-looking man did not seem to care at all. The faint surprise in his eyes was fleeting. He condensed his hand in the air, and all the spiritual energy in a radius of dozens of meters was instantly sucked dry. He struck out with his palm again, clashing with Mu Feng's blade. Pung! The two forces collided, and the collision of fierce power was comparable to the crisscrossing of thunder. Chi splattered and sword chi flew. The power from the reckless collision was like a ball of water exploding from within, blooming and spreading across the horizon. The layer of sword astral that covered Mu Feng's treasured sword was completely shattered. The power that the ordinary-looking man had unleashed had actually pushed Mu Feng back with an overwhelming advantage. Hee, cursing people isn't what a gentleman would do. The man smiled faintly, and a hint of femininity appeared at the corner of his mouth. After that, with a move of his palm, the ball of clone seal talisman markings was drawn into his palm. "Junior brother, it's better if you put it down." Then, a playful chuckle sounded. The person who appeared in front of him was the core disciple of the Thousand Crane sect, Sherwen Xing. An overwhelming aura spread out. Sherwen Xing's body was covered in green light. The peak of the fourth order of void-piercing realm, which was close to the fifth order, pressed down on the young man from the Illusory Rain sect like a mountain. The young man smiled indifferently. "What, even senior brother sure has his eyes on this clone seal?" "Hee, who doesn't want the four-direction seal? Give it to me." "What if I don't give it to you? What do you think?" Sherwen Xing clenched his hand into a fist. The powerful green light was like intertwining vines that quickly climbed up his arm and surged into his fist. In an instant, Sherwen Xing's fist seemed to be covered in a layer of translucent green light. The power was steady and restrained, but it emitted an extremely shocking explosive force. Facing Sherwen Xing's destructive attack, the young man revealed a wicked smile. He stood on the spot without moving, and he didn't even have any intention of blocking the attack. Boom! An incomparably ferocious punch came crashing down, landing solidly on his opponent's chest. Along with a muffled explosion, the young man's body exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky, along with bits of flesh that splattered in all directions. What? The expressions of the others in the surroundings changed. The young man was killed by Sherwin Shing so easily? Isn't this a little too abnormal? No! It's an illusion. Hum. A strange energy fluctuation startled the surrounding people again. Their eyelids twitched and the scene in front of them changed. They saw that Sherwin Shing's punch hit the air. The young man from the illusory rain sect had already retreated dozens of meters away. As for the rain of blood that fluttered through the sky earlier, it seemed to have vanished, and it was as if it had never happened. Sherwin Shing's brows revealed a hint of caution. He stared coldly at the ordinary-looking man in front of him and said, "Who are you?" "Hee, Senior Brother Sher, what do you think?" The man smiled faintly, and his eyes surged with the charm of a woman. Sherwin Shing's pupils shrank. He clenched his fists, and his throat moved slightly as he coldly spat out a few words. "Huanju, Shaorua man." Whoosh! As soon as he said that, the geniuses of the various teams trembled. Many people turned to look at them. Soon after, a layer of light that was as faint as a veil appeared around the man's body. Soon after, under numerous pairs of stunned gazes, the man's face and figure swiftly changed. In the blink of an eye, a young lady with an extraordinary bearing and extraordinary beauty appeared in the sky. Boom! It really is Shaorua man. Everyone in the room couldn't help but reveal a stunned expression on their faces. Shaorua man was dressed in black, showing off her curvaceous and exquisite figure. Her beautiful eyes seemed to have a captivating charm. The crowd was even more shocked. Just what level had Shaorua man's illusion reached? Even Tu Yi, Ko Tianchen, Sherwin Shing, Song Yuanjia, and other top geniuses were deceived by her. Bang! Immediately after, everyone's attention was attracted by the berserk sigil that appeared on the other side. It was a red rune sigil that was wrapped in red light. The rune looked like a ferocious beast that was enraged. Everyone fought with each other, and sword flashes and shadows intersected. The berserk sigil is mine. A disciple of the illusory rain sect charged at the front and grabbed the ball of light. Your illusory rain sect has already obtained a 4-direction sigil. It's not good to be too greedy. A genius from the 1,000 Crane sect caught up swiftly and charged over with a powerful aura. 1,000 Crane sect, don't go too far. You don't know anything about the 4-direction sigil. As the saying goes, those who see it get a share. Since we're here, it proves that we're qualified to get a share of the sigil's energy. Over a dozen fierce figures charged over swiftly with a towering, imposing aura. All of them revolved with true energy, and the weapons in their hands flickered with powerful and dazzling light. But right at this moment, a monstrous and bloody aura surged over like a tsunami. All of you can fuck off now. Rumble! In an instant, a powerful and condensed circle of blood-red light swept through the surroundings, and the terrifying and powerful imposing aura it emanated struck everyone. All of them seemed as if they'd been struck by a mountain, and their bodies trembled as they were blasted flying. It was obvious that the person who possessed such might was a core disciple of the Azura sect, Tu Yi. Tu Yi's face was filled with a playful and mocking expression. He didn't say a word and just stretched out his hand to grab the berserk sigil. But at practically the exact same moment, a powerful figure charged towards Tu Yi like a meteor. Song Yuanjia, you want to compete with me? Tu Yi stared coldly at the figure that flashed over, and the blood-red baleful aura around him surged like a sea of smoke. Song Yuanjia's gaze was cold like lightning, and his powerful true energy revolved around him in a peerlessly domineering manner. Two balls of thick true energy that seemed like golden flames covered his fist. From afar, Song Yuanzhi's fists seemed to have been bathed in the golden radiance of the sun. They were resplendent and radiated an extraordinary and terrifying aura. It was the style of one of the 7 absolutes of heaven's chosen. Buzz! Song Yuanzhi didn't say anything else. He smashed his right fist forward, and it glowed brilliantly. An unstoppable force pressed down like a mountain, and space shook without end. Humph! Tu Yi sneered and raised his palm. A vast, surging, blood-red light jumped and surged in his palm, and the extreme power fluctuations shook the wind and clouds. Boom! The 2 fists and palms collided, and intense light patterns exploded in the sky. A huge fist mark appeared on Song Yuanzhi's side, and a huge palm shadow also appeared on Tu Ye's side. The golden fist mark and the blood-red palm shadow collided, and the explosive shock wave was like 2 mountains colliding in the void. All kinds of fierce energy fluctuations exploded wantonly, and the mighty aftershock whistled through the whole area. The strong wind blew away the surrounding people. Then, with a bang, the fist mark and the palm shadow suddenly exploded in the middle, and the golden-red flaming aura soared into the sky like a fire. The chaotic airwaves spread out, and Song Yuanzhi actually retreated backward. On the other hand, Tu Yi was still standing firmly in the same place, and the blood-red light around his body was rising. Heh, compared to that young master you're really too weak. Tu Yi sneered proudly. Song Yuanzhi's face was gloomy, and his eyebrows were wrinkled like 2 dead silkworms. He really didn't expect Tu Ye's strength to be so strong. Just now, Song Yuanzhi launched the attack when he made the first move. Not only did he not gain any advantage, but he also couldn't move Tu Yi even a little bit, as if he had hit a mountain. At this time, if Song Yuanzhi wanted to take back the Frenzy Curse Seal, he could only ask for help from others. In the Moon End Cities team, apart from Luo Mengchang, no one else could compete with Tu Yi. However, from the beginning, Luo Mengchang stayed out of the battle, as if she was an outsider. She didn't pay attention to the chaotic battle, and instead approached the pile of stone platforms and giant steels in front of her. Damn it! Song Yuanzhi cursed in a cold voice. What the hell are you doing? Heh, don't even think about taking back what has fallen into my hands. Tu Ye's momentum soared, and he didn't care about the others at all. Humph! On the other side, the Thousand Crane Sect's core disciple, Ko Tianqian's eyes emanated a sharp light like that of an eagle, and he intended to charge at Tu Yi. However, at the same time, the 3rd Square Curse Seal appeared in the heavens and the earth. Square Curse Seal. Heaven Spirit Seal. It's the Heaven Spirit Seal. Everyone's eyes revealed a burning glow, and they seemed like ferocious wolves that had seen their prey. 2 of the 4 seals had fallen into the hands of Xiao Rumen and Tu Yi respectively, so the fight for the other 2 seals could be said to be extremely intense. The Heaven Spirit Seal was a bright golden color, and it was enveloped by a golden ball of light as it floated in the sky above the stone tablet ruins. 20 to 30 fierce figures charged at the golden ball of light at an extremely swift speed. On the other hand, the eyes of Ko Tianqian, who was about to seize the Frenzy Curse Seal in Tu Ye's hands, suddenly turned cold, and he suddenly changed his direction and flew directly towards the Heaven Spirit Seal. Screech! A loud and clear eagle cry resounded through the 9 heavens. Ko Tianqian's entire body flickered with silver light, and restless light markings covered his entire body. The silhouette of an eagle was faintly visible around Ko Tianqian. Swoosh! Ko Tianqian's speed was extremely fast, and he tore through the air. He was like a flowing light flying through thousands of years, and he overtook everyone in front of him. He approached the Heaven Spirit Seal at a speed that no one could catch up with. However, right at this moment, boom! An earth-shattering sound exploded in the valley. The rubble was like an erupting volcano, and rocks flew everywhere. A monstrous power filled the sky, and swept in all directions. A huge hole appeared in the ground. Everyone in the room was startled by this. Luo Mengchang's heartstrings trembled, and her beautiful eyes were filled with surprise. Boom! In the next moment, a shadow shrouded in purple light rushed into the sky from the ruins like a ghost, and like an aurora, it headed towards the heaven's spirit seal. An earth-shattering explosion resounded, and the purple shadow collided with the eagle shadow that Ko Tianqian had transformed into. Chapter 477. Rumble. An ear-piercing thunderous roar exploded between the heavens and the earth. It was as if a violent riot caused by the collision of meteorites had occurred without any warning. Everyone present was shocked, their pupils constricted, and their faces revealed a strong sense of astonishment. All of a sudden, the ghostly silhouette that soared into the sky from the ruins below firmly intercepted the majestic and domineering falcon silhouette that Ko Tianqian had transformed into. Terrifying forces collided wantonly. It was earth-shattering. Space trembled. Gorgeous purple light and bright silver light sparks flew in all directions, blooming wantonly in the sky. Rumble. The mighty and violent aftershock covered the heavens and the earth, and it was like a flash flood that swept through the sky and struck the young geniuses that were charging towards the heaven's spirit curse seal. The surging power was swept away like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. More than 20 people were all sent flying by the violent aftershock of the shockwave. More than half of them felt their internal organs tremble violently. Their blood surged up, and they spat out a mouthful of blood. The tremor was earth-shattering, and it suppressed the chaotic scene in the surroundings. Xiao Ruoman, Tu Yi, Sherwen Xing, Song Yuanzhe, Mu Feng, and the others were stunned. They couldn't help but stop what they were doing and look over in astonishment. The purple silhouette and the falcon's silhouette both retreated. However, as the silhouette that was covered in purple light retreated, it suddenly drew a sharp and dazzling ray of light in the sky. Swoosh! The bright silver light was like the arc of a crescent moon. It flashed past the ball of light that enveloped the heaven spirit curse seal at an extremely fast speed. The air trembled slightly, and the ball of light immediately vanished. In the next moment, the demonic purple light quickly retracted, and a handsome young figure appeared in everyone's line of sight. Holy shit, Chu-Hen? It's really you! Mu Feng's eyes widened as he blurted out loudly. Junior brother Chu-Hen? The members of the Thousand Cranes sect were extremely astounded as well, and their faces were covered in surprise. The young geniuses of Moon End City, Shura sect, Heavenly Sword Pavilion, and Illusory Rain sect were all shocked. Other than the teams from Moon End City and Heavenly Sword Pavilion, there were a few people from the other forces who had seen Chu-Hen before. Back at the 10,000 Beast Ridge, the people from the Illusory Rain sect and Shura sect were present as well. That was Chu-Hen's defeat of the Heaven's Extermination Palm was remembered by people. At this moment, Chu-Hen's entire body was covered in blood. The battle with the white-scaled serpent emperor in the underground palace had added to his injuries. His clothes and hair were slightly messy. The scars on his face were especially eye-catching. However, even though this was the case, Chu-Hen did not have the slightest dispirited feeling on his body. His pair of sharp black eyes were as bright as the stars. His resolute face was angular, as if it was carved by a guillotine. A transcendent and domineering aura arose spontaneously, suppressing everyone present. The person who came with Luo Mengchang was Chu-Hen? Bewilderment arose in everyone's hearts. However, very quickly the crowd confirmed this point. Chu-Hen first looked at Mu Feng, then lightly nodded his head. Then, he cast his gaze towards Luo Mengchang, who was close to the ruins below. Their eyes met. The gentleness in Chu-Hen's eyes made Luo Mengchang's worry gradually disappear. Looking at Chu-Hen, who was covered in blood, Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes clearly showed a trace of heartache. However, Chu-Hen only gave a faint smile, indicating that he was fine. Buzz. Whoosh. The atmosphere in this region seemed to have become increasingly strange. A surging aura constantly floated around Ko Tianqian's body. His expression was gloomy to the extreme. His sharp gaze coldly stared at Chu Hen in front of him, and an invisible killing intent quietly spread. Hand over the heavenly spirit curse seal. His icy cold voice was like a needle. The expressions of everyone from the Thousand Cranes sect changed. Shi Wenxing hurriedly flashed over to Ko Tianquan's side, and then he looked Chu Hen in the eyes and said, "Junior brother Chu Hen, we're here on the orders of the Grand Elder to invite you back to the Thousand Cranes sect." Shi Wenxing had intentionally placed emphasis on the word invite. The others were slightly shocked. Chu Hen actually joined the Thousand Cranes sect? However, it seemed like the relationship between Chu Hen and this core disciple, Ko Tianquan, wasn't very good. Chu Hen smiled indifferently and answered calmly. "Why should I go back?" Shi Wenxing continued persuading. "It was our fault just now. The Grand Elder has punished us and ordered us to pursue you back. The position of the leader of the Thousand Crane sect's Hall disciples is still yours." "What? The leader of the Hall disciples?" As soon as these words were spoken, the geniuses of the various sects in the surroundings were shocked once more. It was common knowledge that the Thousand Crane sect had extremely strict requirements for its Hall disciples. Besides their own strength, there was also potential ability to carry out assignments, ability to cooperate with their companions, and so on and so forth. All of these were factors that couldn't be missed. Moreover, everyone who'd met Chu Hen earlier knew that he wasn't a member of the Thousand Crane sect. In other words, Chu Hen had just joined the Thousand Crane sect this year. He'd seized the position of the leader of the Hall disciples as a new disciple. This was extremely frightening to think about. However, Chu Hen's gaze was calm like water in a well when he heard what Shi Wenxing said, and it didn't change at all. "I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in the position of the leader of the Hall disciples anymore. Unless what?" Shi Wenxing's eyelids raised while his eyes glowed brightly. He was very well aware of how important Chu Hen was to the Thousand Crane sect. If Chu Hen was willing to return to the Thousand Crane sect, then not to mention leaving all the members of the Azura sect behind, he would even have to give up the transformation seal in Xiao Ruoman's possession. After that, once Chu Hen returned to the Thousand Crane sect, Hua Shui, Fu Qin, Jishu, and Nongqi who'd left would naturally return to the Thousand Crane sect as well. This would definitely be extremely beneficial to the Thousand Crane sect. "Ha!" Chu Hen smiled evilly as he pointed at Ko Tianquan and said, "Unless he hands over his position as a core disciple." Hand over his position as a core disciple, swish. In an instant, the surroundings erupted into an uproar. The members of the Azura sect and Illusory Rain sect's teams revealed surprised expressions. This show was really good to watch. Luo Mingxiang's beautiful eyes rippled slightly as she pursed her red lips. It seemed like the enmity between Chu Hen and Ko Tianquan was quite deep. Shi Wenxing's expression turned slightly cold. He truly did not expect Chu Hen to make such an unreasonable request. Ko Tianquan was clearly enraged. A piercingly cold aura erupted from his body. The airflow in the surroundings started to circulate rapidly as a ghastly cold wave swept out in all directions. "I'll give you one more chance. Hand over the Spirit Sky seal obediently. Otherwise, I'm sure you won't have the chance to leave this forest." Killing intent. Dense killing intent. Ko Tianquan had completely forgotten the Grand Elder's request. From the beginning until the end, he had no intention of bringing Chu Hen back to the Thousand Crane sect. Since the Grand Elder was worried Chu Hen would join another sect and be used by others, then killing Chu Hen would be one way. In that case, killing Duan Ling Tian was also an option. "Tianquan, don't be rash." Shi Wenxing reached out to stop Ko Tianquan and tried his best to speak calmly. "Chu Hen, I know you're not weak, but if you want to fight for the position of a core disciple, then return to the sect. In half a year, you can issue a challenge to a core disciple at the sect meeting." "Haha, why do I have to wait until half a year?" Chu Hen smiled playfully. He was not afraid of Ko Tianquan's sharp and cold gaze. Suddenly, Chu Hen's tone changed, and his tone abruptly lowered. Ko Tianqian, I've already said that I won't do anything more than 3 times. You've already provoked me twice. If there's a third time, I'll kill you. A cold aura was released from Chu Hen's body. Many people present were shocked by Chu Hen's domineering aura. Although his cultivation was only at the 3rd rank of the void-piercing realm, Chu Hen's aura was not weaker than his opponent's. Fight. Unavoidable. Ko Tianqian's eyes turned cold. He directly pushed away Shi Wenxing's arm, set off surging true essence, and rushed straight toward Chu Hen. You asked for it! Screech. The sharp cry of an eagle reverberated in all directions. The silver light around Ko Tianqian's body wantonly intertwined, and the eagle tattoo on his chest bloomed with a dazzling luster. A mighty wave of true essence surged behind Ko Tianqian, as if a vicious beast was about to come out at any moment. Bastard, you're destined to pay for your arrogance! The momentum was urgent, dragging a powerful wave of air in the sky. Shi Wenxing secretly shook his head and sighed helplessly. At this time, he could only let them solve it themselves, and what he had to do next was to guard against the Shura sect's people taking advantage of the chaos. Facing the menacing Ko Tianqian, Chu Hen's expression quietly rose with a faint layer of frost. The previous 2 times he endured. This was the 3rd time. There was no need to endure. Buzz. A surging black light emerged from Chu Hen's body, and domineering true essence lingered around his body, forming a protective shield. In the next moment, Chu Hen flew up, fearlessly facing Ko Tianqian head-on. Boom! 2 streams of light, one black and one silver, collided in the sky. Waves of air flew everywhere, true essence splashed, and disorderly light beams bloomed like fireworks. The 2 sides quickly separated and retreated, the true essence outside their bodies dancing restlessly. Tu Yi, Xiao Ruoman, Shi Wenxing, Song Yuanjia, Luo Mengchang, Mu Feng, and the others. Everyone was secretly surprised. They thought that Chu Hen would avoid Ko Tianqian's sharp edge. After all, the latter's strength was obvious to all. But unexpectedly, Chu Hen was not afraid at all, and directly fought against him head-on.